It is Mikey P. As in
So I could just, is your last name P? Does it start with a P? Are you Mike P?
No, I'm actually just Mike. I'm Mike Lawfer, but Mikey P
You're
was.
Mike L.
Yes, I'm Mike L. But I was in a band where I had where we had like 10 mics in the band, and we had to differentiate. It's like okay, because I played piano. They're like, okay, you're Mike Piano, Mike P, and then you're Mike Guitar, and you're Mike Drums, and
Did you know George Foreman named all of his boys? He had a bunch of kids. He named them all George Foreman. There's like George 1, George 2. That's a real thing.
Yeah, I did know that. Which is a very odd thing. Didn't he have a girl too that he named George as well? I think he had a.
Quite possibly. I have no idea.
Fucking celebrities, man. They get money and fame, and they're just like, I'm gonna name my kid Apple. It's like, fuck it, we're doing things.
Yeah. Humans are wild.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know what it's like to be a celebrity. Maybe you do, because you do have some cachet in the music world, one time a guy in Kroger asked me how my butthole was because I posted about having butthole problems. So I mean, if that's celebrity, I guess. Hey man, I would be honored to be asked about my butthole at Kroger or something. Hey Snooze Mew, what's up, buddy? Thanks for dropping in. Mighty. Hold on, let me get you Mighty. Mighty, thank you so much for dropping in. Snooze Mew, Apple's a really common name in Asia. Okay, well, not here.
Oh,
Snooze Mew. Yeah, apparently, in Asia, Apple's a common name. Cool. Well, you know what? Snooze Mew is full of fun, like, Asian information. We had a whole podcast about it. It was amazing. But anyways, so back to your celebrity and being asked about your butthole. Oh, so what'd you do? You posted something online like, hey, here's my butthole, it hurts, or?
No, I had to go see a colorectal surgeon to determine whether or not I was a candidate for surgery because I was having butthole problems. But I like, I'm almost too transparent online, but that's part of my personality. I like saying shit about myself that makes people scratch their head. Why would he say something like that? Because if it garners a reaction out of people, it kind of, I don't know, it excites me. It's not necessarily a negative reaction, but just like, why would anyone say that kind of reaction? I don't want to fight people. I just want to be me to like the nth degree, to the point where people are like, that guy's weird. It's fun. I relish in the weirdness. So.
Yeah, why? Why do you like that kind of attention? Why do you think you like that kind of attention?
Because ever since I was a little kid, I was always off, but it always made people pay attention to me, and my dad didn't love me like I wanted him to, so I was trying to fill this like validation attention void in my soul, and I did it pretty much by acting like an idiot all the time and having, I'm just trying to entertain people. I didn't realize that till late in life, till I started going to therapy. That the whole reason I am who I am is because I just wanted my daddy to love me.
It comes down to like either my dad or my mom or my parents didn't love me, or they love me in the wrong ways. It's just it sucks.
I mean, if you watch any of those serial killer documentaries, it all boils down to childhood abuse, like 9 out of 10 times. Yeah. And not saying like I became a fucking murderer or a sociopath because of the way I was raised, but it certainly made me into who I am as far as like needing that attention and validation from outside sources, which is something I'm trying to delineate from. I'm trying just to recognize, okay, this is why you're on the internet, and this is why you're in a band, and this is why you're a streamer, and this is why, you're doing all this because you want people to fucking recognize that you're special, or that you're talented, or that you're funny. And I think that's a lot of humans just want to, especially now because it's so easy to have your own soapbox. A lot of humans are just like, well, I want to be noticed too. Notice me. So it's like the internet is just thousands and millions of people just being like, notice me. It's wild. It's a wild place. It's fucking insanity.
It really is.
And I add to it, you know. I'm just trying to be aware of it and not let it rule me. But there are days where it does, and there are days where I'm depressed, and there are days where I'm happy, and it's a roller coaster, man.
I agree. You know, like when I was doing research to, you know, talk to you, and I noticed right away that we had a lot in common. It's like alcoholism, and then quit, and you know, anxiety, depression. It's all the things that sort of run in this circle, right? Like in the creative circle, it's just, people tend to be, you know, depressive and anxious and need attention, and you know, trying to fill the void of childhood, and licking the wounds from childhood. You know, it's just it's music and art just is this beautiful pool of it. Where do you fit in?
I mean, everyone I know is fucking nuts, and I don't know if it necessarily. And most of the people I know I met through touring and through being a creative. So the most interesting people I know have the most problems. You know, some of my favorite people in the whole world are mentally ill, are heavily medicated, are fucking alcoholics, are drug users, are you know, poets and freaks and weirdos, and they have, you know, just those are my type of people. So I you know, I don't necessarily know how I fit in, because I've never really fit in anywhere, but I guess I don't know. I'm just a dude. I don't know if that answers like the original question. I kind of my brain's really melted lately. I don't even do drugs anymore. I feel like I'm 39 years old. I'm approaching 40, and I feel like, I don't know if it's this pandemic or if it's, I don't know what it is, but my brain is slowing down. I feel like I'm like so anxious to the point where I have trouble just formulating basic sentences. And I'm like, in my brain, it's like a cacophony in there, and I'm trying to shut it up. And so I try to like eat an edible, and then it gets worse. And then I just like lay in the fetal position, and you know, I don't know what's going on, dude.
I feel you, man. You're right about the edibles, man. The edibles scramble my brain. I was just telling my wife before, I was like, I have not recovered from that fucking dispensary gig we played, and like, because they just had these s'mores, and the medicated s'mores, and I haven't eaten edibles in months, because I do this podcast and it affects me for like weeks, and coming and like, I was a drug user, you know, heroin, everything, you know, everything, all of the things, and so like, I just feel like any kind of drug that like puts me in a different state, like eating weed, because eating weed is definitely different from smoking it. It just affects me. Like if I took a hardcore drug, and for me, if I take a hardcore drug, it takes me like weeks to sort of like clean out and fully get it out of my system, and edibles act in the same way. So it's really hard for me to sort of indulge, because I love edibles. I think they're the best way. I mean, it's the closest thing to heroin without, you know, dying. So it's like, for me, not that I'm trying to glorify it. I'm sorry?
You try kratom?
Oh, no. I'm not really interested in that at all.
Yeah. I mean, because people, like, if you used to use opiates, there's a lot of people that kick opiates through kratom. But then it, you know, it arguably, anything your body enjoys becomes as addictive. Maybe not as physically addictive, but definitely there's a mental addiction that occurs with the pain relieving benefits of something like kratom. Like I had a friend that recently passed away, and he did a lot of opiates, but also like when he wasn't doing opiates, he was doing kratom. Like, it's sad. Addiction is a real thing. It's a powerful thing. I mean, for example, my mother is, she had brain surgery because of an aneurysm, and the neurosurgeon said to her, listen, if you don't want these aneurysms to come back, you're going to have to quit smoking. And my mother is 72 years old, has been smoking cigarettes since she was fucking 15. You do the math. Her neurosurgeon took my brother, sister, and I aside and said, she's probably not going to quit smoking no matter what. Like, even if it's like fucking wrapped and presented to her in a way where, hey, you're going to live longer. You're going to see your grandson longer. You're probably not going to get these aneurysms anymore. We're not going to have to do any more major surgery on you if you quit smoking. She straight up, even the neurosurgeon's like, she's not going to quit. She's not going to quit. Coronavirus happened. She's got COPD. She's at high risk for if she gets corona. It may as well. It will kill her probably just because she has lung problems to begin with. And this is a virus that attacks the lungs. And straight up, she's still smoking cigarettes every fucking day. Addiction's one of the most powerful things. And I'm an addict. Like, you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I'm addicted to like probably 3 other things right now, but they're just not as, you know, detrimental to my health as alcohol. You know, caffeine, a little bit of cannabis, and like the dopamine rush of an orgasm. I think that's food. I'm addicted to food. Yeah. Yes.
Food.
So maybe 4 things. I'm addicted to 4 things right now.
That was another thing that we had in common.
Social media, 5 things.
Social media.
Sorry.
I think that everyone has at least 5 things that th're just fucked. They're slaves to, and they're gonna keep going back to it. The food thing is another thing, because it's like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you're supposed to eat. You have to eat to live, but you're not supposed to eat too much to where you become unhealthy. But with addiction and stuff, I mean, because for me, it started in childhood with food. That's what started my addiction, was because like I was a fat little porker. I was like 325 in high school. So
oh wow,
yeah, dude.
Well, good on you, man. You look healthy.
I appreciate you too, man. I mean, like I going through the years, I've seen you fluctuate. You talk about it. You talk about how, you know, that you gained and you've lost, and you know, it's part of your system. Are you still working out? Do you work out a lot still, or are you just doing?
I work out 6 days a week. What's funny is I work out 6 days a week to be as chubby as I am. Like,
yeah, me
like,
too.
You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
it takes a lot of work to even just look like this, which is fucking hilarious. But that's just genetics. A and B. When I got really bad with alcoholism and abusing food and using food as a coping mechanism, I got up to like about 250 pounds, and it, I mean, like, you know, you've been there. Where am I even going with this? See, this is what I'm talking about. My brain just farts out.
I feel you.
Maybe I need to stop eating edibles before bed. But it got to the point where, yeah, my doctor told me I was going to die young if I kept it up. So yeah, my blood pressure is really bad, and heart disease runs on my dad's side of the family. Like both my dad's dad and my dad had massive heart attacks before they were 50 or in their 50s, like at a young age.
Wow.
So I gotta watch that shit. I remember one time I went on this keto diet because some Hollywood bro told me, and I lost a bunch of weight. I lost like 20 pounds, and I'm like, oh, this is working. But then I went into the doctor and I had a cholesterol test taken, and they saw that all my cholesterol levels spiked because I was eating a high-fat diet. And the doctor goes, you know, if you have a fucking history of heart disease on your dad's side of the family, you probably shouldn't be on a no-carb, all-fat, all-animal product diet. And that, you know, and I was like, yeah, he's probably right. And then I heard Kevin Smith on the Joe Rogan Experience talking about his massive heart attack and how he went vegan. And Kevin Smith, I mean, if you look at him now, he looks like a different guy. He probably lost 150 pounds.
Yeah, he doesn't even look like Kevin Smith. He's somebody else.
So, and if you saw the new Jay and Silent Bob movie, which my girlfriend and I rented it recently, like he makes a lot of jokes about not being fat anymore, and he's really good at making fun of himself. He makes a lot of jokes too about how the whole movie is based around rebooting an old franchise. So like so many of the jokes are just at their own expense for rebooting Jay and Silent Bob again. And so it's very meta. There's like levels to it. They're like commenting on Hollywood, but they're also making fun of themselves at the same time. And it's fun.
Yeah, well, you can appreciate that. I can appreciate artists who like know that they're just sort of kind of cashing in on rebooting. I can appreciate that about Kevin Smith's approach to the new movie, because it's like, what else?
He's in on the joke.
Right.
He definitely doesn't take himself too seriously. Like everything he does, I think he's still, even 25 years after Clerks came out, he's still just kind of like, wow, I have a career in Hollywood because of some movie I made with my buddies, you know, where we funded it with fucking maxing out credit cards, and we shot it in black and white to save money. Like he rolled the dice and won. in life. And yeah, I love Kevin Smith, man.
I do too.
But anyway, I'm getting off topic.
No, it's okay because Snooze Mew is pulling us back in. He said, growing up poor and still falling below the national average income, when I get some cash, I binge. It's a form of compensation with what I didn't have, and it's a survival instinct, which I can understand. If you come up poor and it's something where you have a food shortage and you're not always sure where your next meal is coming from or however that is. I was fortunate enough not to have that in my life. My family was very poor, but they still supplied the ramen noodles and the fucking Kraft macaroni cheese and the fucking microwave hot dogs and all that garbage. It's like I still was able to get fat as fuck. But yeah. I mean,
it can happen on a budget.
It mostly does happen on a budget because people who don't have access to decent food, all they have is that shit that's what they call them, food deserts. Which, you're from Detroit. I mean, they've come under a lot of scrutiny for these kinds of things where, poor health, poor systems, poor neighborhoods not having access to food deserts, essentially.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of the organic food, or like quote organic, I don't know if anything's actually organic, but that's the most expensive food you can buy. If you go to, they call Whole Foods whole paycheck for a reason. Right. Like my girlfriend and I, we refuse to go to Whole Foods just because you walk in there and get 4 things and it's $37. It's like and it's owned by Jeff Bezos, which we could get into that or not get into that.
He's a son of a bitch. He's a reptilian. He's a reptilian.
Jeff Bezos is this evil entity. I hate to admit it, but when I started building all of my streaming gear and my podcast studio, once the pandemic hit, I was giving money to that motherfucker because I didn't like Best Buy wasn't open. And I wanted to get this shit off the ground because I had my podcast going. The whole motif of the podcast was a guy who's in a band interviewing weirdos inside of his band van, and that was my.
Was that the first start?
The first 20 something episodes is just me in my van talking to people, and when the pandemic hit, I'm just like, all right, well, I'm not going to do anything. But then I got bored, and now all I do is edit videos, and I'm on the computer and I'm making music and.
So why is Jeff Bezos evil? Why, in your eyes, why is he evil? Because you also talk shit about Mark Zuckerberg, which I still don't. I don't get the joke. But you said something about Zuck, and you got zucked. I think I saw that.
Oh yeah. Well, no. When I restream my streams, if I play a cover song or if I do anything that's copywritten, like the stream concludes immediately on YouTube, and I restream because I have a lot of boomer people that. I mean, a lot of them are my age or older that are fans of my band that follow me only on Facebook, and they haven't made the jump to Insta, or they would never dare like start a TikTok, So I'm in this weird position where I'm approaching middle age, and most of the people who know what I do creatively are like almost middle age, if not a little bit younger than me, and I'm trying to like achieve some sort of longevity by doing these newer platforms where there's a younger demographic. And it's tough, dude, because I'm a dude that plays guitar, and guitars just aren't cool anymore. It's just not, you know what I mean? Like a dude playing a guitar, it's almost like a meme at this point. Here's Wonderwall,
Exactly. Family Guy did us in, man. And then the memes came, and then it was over. It was like, guitarists now are like the douche. Like, oh, I gotta take that back because it's the white guy with the acoustic who's playing Wonderwall, right? Because it's not. Let's
just put it this way: if I were 10 years younger and I had bought a MacBook when I was like, was gifted a MacBook when I was like 9 or 10 or 12 years old, and I was like making beats in my bedroom, I probably would be way further in my music career. If you know what I mean? I do. I was born in the 80s, but like in the early 2000s, there was this idea sold to people my age that's like, if you get a band together, you can get Slipknot, Blink-182. Like here's all these bands that were, and at some point, maybe like when MySpace started to die, 07, 08, like. Being in a band just wasn't as cool anymore. Yeah. And now we're in this full, like, it's just, it's a weird time. It's a weird time. And so I'm like an old dude trying to adapt to new times. Like I'm 39-year-old guy on fucking Twitch,
just
making stupid songs with a loop machine, you know?
Just tattoo your face and start mumbling into a microphone over crappy beats, bro. You got it.
I like that music.
Me too. I like fucking mumbling.
I don't want to be. I used to work for these dudes in Cali, and they ran this rehearsal studio, and it was also a recording studio, and they straight up would turn people away if they wanted to record hip hop music. Like they would say no to money. They would be like, "Oh, if it doesn't have guitars and drums, we don't want your money." And it's like, dude, what? Like, why don't you just record anyone who wants to do music? Like, why it's like dad rock only? It's like, fuck that, dude. If someone wants to give you money to record their shit, and all they want to do is like record some vocals and EQ it, plug the shit in. You don't have to mic a drum set that way.
Right. It's just cheaper.
Have them bring you the track, and then you fucking use your nice microphones, you EQ it, you mix it, you master it, you send it to them, and you fucking have them pay you. Make money. If you're in the business of making money, why are you saying no to money?
No,
that's my rant on that.
No, it's a great rant because because there's definitely, like, right now in chat, someone's saying there's definitely a stigma towards hip hop and R&B, and I feel that like my wife is an R&B artist and she streams on Twitch, and you don't really find a whole lot of R&B artists, on Twitch. You don't like. Coming up, I don't know how it was for you in Detroit, coming up in the music scene, but coming up for me in Toledo, and then when I moved out to San Diego, like 13 years ago, when I moved out there initially.
You got a 619 area code. I saw that.
Yes, sir. I fucking
Raymond Trio 619.
I'm not leaving. I'm not abandoning my 619 number. I abandoned the 419.
I still got my 313 number. So yeah, I feel you.
You know what, man? I'm from Toledo, and I live in Toledo now. I moved back, so coming up in the scene, hip hop was looked at as like the cliche thug type stuff. People would not book shows for hip hop in Toledo, and when I first moved out to San Diego, it was hard to book a hip hop band who was a conscious band. I was they were a conscious band, and you still had hard time. They had pushback. And of course, as hip hop has become like the new rock music, it's the mainstream now, which it has been for years. But at this time, it was still looked at, which is mid 2000s, which is not that long ago. But still, it was looked at, and then the early 2000s, it was still looked at as guns and violence and all this. Did you see that kind of coming up in the Detroit scene towards hip hop? I know you're a fan of hip hop as well, so.
Oh, I love all types of music. So I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit. We rep Detroit because that's where the band started. Yeah. But I mean, even that would come under contention for some people. I spent a lot of time in Detroit. I, lived in the city and I played a million fucking shows there. But I feel like it's crazy because there's bands I know that live like 30 miles northeast of the city that still rep Detroit. It's just the thing. If you're a band and you're from the metro area, it seems like you just rep Detroit, and which is weird. It's weird. And Toledo's a weird place too. My ex still lives there, and I spent a lot of time in Toledo, and a lot. I've heard the comment a lot of times that like Toledo is just a like a mini Detroit, and I kind of get that vibe a little bit.
A little.
It's a very small town, and Detroit, even for being a big metropolitan area, if you're in the creative community, it's a very small town.
Yeah.
It's just everybody knows everybody. Everyone who's making music, and whether it's hip hop, rock music, techno, it's a small pond. And so I don't know. I always appreciated hip hop music, but I never was like involved in. I was always involved in the punk community, so I can't necessarily comment on whether or not I saw hip hop music in Detroit not being taken seriously, because I feel like Detroit's a big hip hop town.
Yeah, me too. Because like I was thinking about that as you're talking. It's like Detroit, like even in the time that we're talking, when you guys were first starting out, we're talking about. I'm sure there's so many people, but like Eminem was huge, and I'm sorry that's the only person, and of course Kid Rock, ICP had their moments, which you guys have ties to. I want to talk about that for sure, but so I guess hip hop was really embraced in Toledo. I guess Toledo was more of that. Had that kind of bullshit. And then when I went out to San Diego, they had that bullshit a lot. Because no matter how liberal fucking California thinks they are, there is still a lot of fucking bias and weird shit against people of color and stuff. So it still
depends on where you are. I really think.
Does.
I think in LA, like LA County, not a lot of people. I feel like it's a big melting pot. Not a lot of people give a shit. I live in Long Beach. It's mostly brown people, and there's a huge. It's crazy. There's a huge wealth disparity too. Like if you live by the water, and by the beach, like it's super fucking expensive. And we live in it's like a predominantly Mexican American population in this neighborhood. In fact, like at the corner store where we go to get our cat food, we said we live here, and the guy who works there is just like, what? We're like, yeah, we live over there. But I don't know. Yeah, I always feel like Detroit as a whole has been just a hub for like things like techno, hip hop.
Yeah, no, it's been a breeding ground. Dude.
So I don't think necessarily, even though I wasn't involved in those scenes, like my educated guess is that there probably are some rock venues that didn't want to book rap shows,
right?
But there was a shitload of rap shows happening, whether it was like Hamtramck, early 2000s, and there was always a mix, but there was always like a lot of conscious like backpack rap going on, and it's like Blind Pig in Ann Arbor had tons of hip hop shows, and then there's places like Alvin's in Detroit when that place was popping in the early to mid 2000s. There was a lot of hip hop shows going on, so and at the Majestic, so. As far as Detroit is concerned, I don't think there was that stigma.
Yeah.
But there, some of these like rock clubs, like there's a place called Token Lounge that threw a hip hop show, and that's on the west side. That's in the west suburbs of Detroit. And there was actually like a shooting, and people were killed. So that was the last time they ever did hip hop. So it's a mixed bag, just like any big city.
Of course,
it's a mixed bag, and especially out here, like in LA, it's a total mixed bag because if you cross into Orange County, you're in like fucking lifted truck Trump territory, like Huntington Beach. I don't know if you saw that clip where there's like a BLM march going on in a beach town, and there's some dude on a beach cruiser calls some dude the N-word. Dude hops off the truck and just lays him out. It was like a viral video. Oh, no. It's one of those like racism goes wrong. That was Huntington Beach. Huntington Beach is a fucking gnarly place because it's a lot of emboldened Trump supporting white people that just want to scream the N-word into the air. Like it's wild. There was like a Black Lives Matter march in Huntington Beach, but it was like it was tiny just because it's just the nature of Orange County. Orange County is there are a lot of right wingers, but in LA County and on Hollywood Boulevard, you may have saw the aerial footage of there was 20,000 people in the street after what happened to George Floyd. Right. Like that is LA. LA is in high support of different cultures. It's just a huge melting pot. There's literally everyone looks different everywhere you look. So I like that about LA County. There's just too many fucking people. It's crazy.
So we had a couple questions from the band. And Saucy, I see your song. We're not going to do it right this second. I will do it. I forced myself to sing in. It's very embarrassing, but I'm going to have to sing you a song, Neil. And before we're done.
Your show, man. Sing whatever you want.
Well, I mean, it was happening, but I just was letting you know that I'm going to embarrass myself and that you have to watch me sing. Or we can wait till you leave. Whatever you decide. But I don't know if you know, but this was a question for the guest from Snooze Me. Did you have a favorite Toledo punk band? Or were you familiar with Toledo punk at all?
Oh, yeah. Like when we first started playing in Toledo, it was like 2002. Or it probably was 2001 when we first went down there.
Well, so, I was thinking, I saw you guys. Did you guys play like Frankie's or the Main Event at all?
All the time.
Yeah.
We never played Main Event. We played Headliners a fuckload. We played Frankie's a fuckload. We played Howard's Club H and BG a fuckload. Right. We played the Bijou. We did it.
The Bijou was dope, man.
We did shows at the Bijou that like popped the fuck off because we know Brock down there. I don't know if I'm pretty sure he's like the music guy, either he or John Anderson. I don't know if I don't know what the status of Ohio even doing shows is anymore. From what I can see, there's actually shows happening at Frankie's. Is that real?
No, I don't think shows are happening at Frankie's, but the hippies have put on the festival, like Glow Stick. Glow Stick. Like, of
course, my friend.
I'm not sure if they are gonna do Willitown, but I know like they are. Are they? They're gonna for sure do it. Are you guys gonna play it?
I ain't getting on a plane, bro. Sorry.
I already
told him that. He's like, dude, plane tickets are cheap. Just let me know.
Plane tickets are cheap?
have, dude. Well, we bought a stage. Those dudes bought a stage.
I know, they're awesome. I love those guys so much. Those guys are so fucking rock and roll, man. They are so rock and
hard.
roll.
They go hard, but dude, like, you know, like I said earlier, but I have my mother's 72 years old and she's at risk for COVID, and I want to be able to be in the same room as her without killing her. So where I stand on all this shit, I don't know what's real, I don't know what's fake, I don't know what's a government conspiracy, but I don't want to kill my mom, so I'm not getting on a plane. I stay the fuck put. I do my podcast on Zoom. I don't go to the fucking gym. If I go to the beach, I'm wearing a mask. If I ride my bike, I'm wearing a mask. If I go in a store, I'm wearing a mask. I'm genuinely afraid, whether or not it's overkill or me buying into the, you know, the government telling me what I should think. I don't know what the fuck it is. I'm not an expert. I'm just a dude, but I'm not getting on a fucking plane to play a gig. Not anytime soon, bro. Yeah, sorry.
Me neither. No. I'm with you, man. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm saying no to everybody right now, and it's just I'm not. It's the same exact thing. I'm in contact with my mother too much. She's at risk. She has too much things that could go wrong. Fuck that. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not going in some studio and in some little spot and fucking breathing in your COVID, you know, like I've been saying no to a lot of projects just because of I'm not risking it. I want to hit on this question, and then I want to actually get back to COVID and, you know, what we were talking about. But they were asking. Well, they were asking about Burger Records fiasco, and I fucking forgot what the Burger Records fiasco was. Snooze Mood, can you give me a reminder? I remember you sent me an article. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, the Burger Records it's an LA. It might be Orange County based record label, and essentially they had, from my understanding, I read a couple articles on it, and I know people that were very vocal in fuck Burger Records, but they're a band called the Growlers. Is one of the bigger bands on Burger Records. It's a really big indie label out here. And apparently they admitted to sexual misconduct and grooming, and pretty much they had this like record store where they would bring underage girls and they would party, and they would essentially, like, they admitted to being immoral, taking advantage of younger girls that were enamored by being around you know, people with clout in the music industry, which is a real thing. Like, if you are a notable figure, like just like Louis C.K., like, use some of his power. Like, we don't have to go into arguing about that, but he was in a position of power when he's like, "Can I whip my dick out and masturbate in front of you?"
I agree with you completely.
You know, did he ask for consent? Yes. Did they say yes? Yes. But did they say yes because he was in that position of power? That's where the argument comes in. That's where the nuance comes in. And with these Burger Records people, it's like, okay, would these underage girls be hanging out with these 20-something, maybe even 30-something-year-old dudes if they weren't in popular bands in Los Angeles area? Like, probably not. So is that – so essentially they came out and they said, yeah, we did fucked up shit. And then they just folded the label. They put someone else in the head of the label. They put this person, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to take care of this from now on. But then after like a few days, maybe it was like a week, they just folded the entire thing. So Burger Records, RIP. Yeah. They were faced with the scandal, and they just kind of went into the shadows. I don't know if there's any litigation that's actually happening towards them, but they didn't deny the rumors. They pretty much just said, yep, we're scum, and then they disappeared. So
it's kind of like Louis C.K. It's like, yep, well, I suck.
I don't know, because that's the thing, is Burger Records probably isn't going to come back, but I guarantee like Louis C.K. is working on a special.
Oh, it already came out.
Oh, it came out.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, yeah. It came out on his
website.
On his website.
Yeah. Oof. I'll send it to you. I'll send it if you want it. Do you want it? I bought it.
It would be interesting to listen to. And I'm sure he doesn't seem like a sociopath. I'm sure he's full of regret, but also he's got this fucked up way of spinning things that are really terrible and making them hilarious. So I assume the special is filled with jokes about him. You know, like I mean, you listen to it. I haven't listened to it, so
yeah, it is. I mean, he addresses it, and it's pretty funny, but it's pretty. The thing that sucks about it is that it's like it's marred by his actions. So there's this weird thing hanging over it that I think it's palpable for everyone. It was definitely for me, where there's just this weird thing hanging over. It's just this thing that's in, like the elephant in the room. He addresses it, but it just you can't really get past it because you can kind of see that he's been, kicked around by the world, by his own fans, and it just, you can feel it. I think so, and I don't think he's hitting. I don't think he's hitting those same. I mean, he's hitting those same notes that he usually does, right? Saying the fucked up things and twisting it, making it sound, and getting people to laugh at really dark things. He has that. It's all there. But then again, there's also the other, I don't know. I'll send it to you if you want. And
I'm interested because my girlfriend does stand up.
Oh, cool.
She's been a stand-up. And so I'm sure she and I would definitely be interested in listening to that. Just just as like an experiment.
Absolutely. That's how I saw it, because it's not like, it's not like these people, they make these mistakes and fucking all of a sudden, I fucking hate them. It's like, I always say this, is like, fucking,
it depends.
I can't.
It depends on
Right. Well, like with R. Kelly, it's like, you know what? I think what he did was just terrible, but I still believe I can fly. I still can step in the name of love. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fucking still moonwalking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, Michael Jackson was diddling little kids. I don't know. Allegedly, I'm a firm believer of separating art and artists. But you're right. There are artists out there, like, I don't know. I guess Bill Cosby. It's kind of hard to get into.
I would have a hard time listening to that Lost Prophets band after knowing what that guy did. Let's just put it that way. I can't really separate the art from that motherfucker.
Is
Bill Cosby? There's so much subtlety and nuance to this whole conversation.
I know.
It really is. It's not binary. It's not black and white, because people, like human beings, we're so multifaceted, and there's, all we know is what's fed to us by television or the media. It's not like we're friends with these people. It's not like we were there.
Right.
So it's tough. It's tough to know. We only know what's being fed to us. I mean, even about the COVID thing. It's what do we actually know?
Exactly. And that's what I don't know. Well,
go ahead, dude. I keep.
No, it's all right, man. It's my. It's the COVID thing is very interesting because it's like this disease that's very real and people are acknowledging that's real. Like you started off, like say it's like, I believe it's real, but then you get people in the same sentences, like maybe a couple sentences later saying like fuck masks. You know what I mean? So it's like. It's just really weird right now that there's so much weird information. Not weird. I keep saying fucking weird. There's so much misinformation and so much just opposite information out there that it's really hard for people to even grasp what's real. And I think that's spreading through all. It's not just COVID. It's spreading through just how people are viewing like the protests. It's spewing into how people are viewing politics. It's just this. I don't know.
I feel like there's opposing narratives that are clashing really hard right now. And if you go online, unless like you live in an echo chamber, you're going to see all these fucking crazy opposing narratives and everyone's ready to fight with each other about it. Mm-hmm. And I had a dude on my podcast that's part of the Detroit protests. He's like really involved. Like he's marching every day for BLM, for George Floyd, and for a bunch of other reasons. And it's the way the right is spinning, how they're all violent looters, that's a false narrative. And so it's tough to know what is the real narrative when you're being fed literally like 3 or 4 narratives about every single hot button topic these days. Like there's a narrative about the protesters. There's one that says they're peaceful and they're doing great things and they're agents of change. And then there's one that's like they're all violent and then they're looting. They call them rioters. They don't even call them protesters. They cut like the right labels them as rioters. And then with the COVID thing, you have people that are in the medical industry. My brother works at a hospital that are straight up like, this shit's really real. People are dying. People are having to say goodbye to their families over a fucking iPad because we're not letting anyone in the hospital. And then you have the opposing narrative, which is just like, oh, the government's trying to control us and they're trying to put, implement us with microchips and I'm not wearing your mask. I have rights. And like, these numbers are falsified. And it's just, so you go online and you just want to smash your head into the wall because like, not only is everyone fighting, but it's like, who's right? Who's wrong? There's just such a divide in human beings right now, and it's all fueling the political debate. It's just a really gnarly time to be a human being in America. It's no fun. It makes me depressed every day.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. What's up, Savage? Thanks for stopping by. There's so, like, at the beginning of all of this, when all these protests and stuff were coming out, there were reports of white nationalists, starting riots, and then there's Antifa, and then the cops were starting these violence. And the thing is about all of it, it's that some of it is true, and that's the and I feel like when you disseminate truth like that, no one trusts anybody, and no one trusts, and especially not the government. And I feel like there's a lot to lose with that kind of loss of trust, because it's just, they're blaming each other. They're not taking responsibility. And nobody's taking responsibility. Everyone's blaming each other. Everyone's making everyone else the enemy. And we're not able to have this. On top of that, we're shutting down real conversations that people are trying to have about culture, race, and all this stuff, because we're not allowed to talk about these things now. And so, like, I don't see this sort of playing out well. You know what I mean? Does it make sense? I know that was...
It's not playing out well. It's terrible. And I feel like, especially because I hang out in my apartment with my girlfriend and my cat. I'm like a spectator, mm-hmm. And it's playing out in real time on the internet. Like, I'm not even, as far as the marches and the BLM movement out in LA, it happened for a little bit and it kind of died down a little bit. They're like out in Detroit, they're marching in mass every single day, and they're having conflicts with the police, and that's why Trump was sending out some of those like feds out to like Portland and whatnot. As soon as the feds left, it was peaceful again. Like any of the looting or the burning or any of that shit happened. That was right at the beginning of it in Long Beach and in LA. They fucked up some shit, but that was only like one night. And that was shortly after what happened to George Floyd happened. They burned the shit out of Melrose. They fucked up a lot of Long Beach. There was a lot of broken glass. But there's also footage of people looting and stealing shit. And cops are right there just watching it happen, because that supports the rights narrative that these people are just fucking violent protesters and they're just destroying public property and they're just stealing shit. They needed that footage. Did you see footage on the news of the police just standing there?
Oh,
no,
yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you saw that?
Oh, I saw it. I saw that shit. Fuck yeah, I saw that. I saw police just...
footage on the news of the Long Beach police just watching people loot?
Well, not Long Beach, but I saw it in other cities, like in Seattle and stuff, where they were just sort of standing back and letting people just sort of run amok. And it's really scary that it's just a political narrative that is allowing that. And even though I agree with a lot of that narrative, I don't agree that we should be letting people break shit and cause violence. If it's a peaceful protest, it's a peaceful protest, And
yeah,
go ahead.
But this is the thing. It makes sense after seeing what happened to George Floyd that would incite some sort of collective anger. You can't just be like, oh well, because I remember the meme was going around of Kaepernick. Because everyone's like, well, why don't they just protest peacefully? And then there's a photo of Kaepernick kneeling. It's like, we already tried. It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But as far as the longevity of this movement and the people in the streets, I would say most of it is peaceful. But when George Floyd first hit, people were mad as hell, man. it makes sense that they wanted to burn down a fucking police station. And when that happened, it's like, you know, as fucked up as it is, I was like, fuck them and fuck yeah. Because it's like, how long are you going to just let people who look like you get murdered in the streets? You know, I'm a white dude from the suburbs of Detroit. It's not my fight. Am I a supporter? Yes. But I've had people on my podcast. I had Norwood from Fishbone, and I had some other people of color. Like, and I just sat there and listened because I want my listeners, I want it to be explained to them in a way they can understand. Like, it makes sense that things get violent. If you're stomped on and you're beaten in the streets and just for the way you look for hundreds of years, like, there's going to come a point where you just can't take it anymore and it boils over and you fuck some shit up. And it's like, do I think that's the right way to go? I don't know. Maybe not. But does it make sense why it's happening? Yes. To me, it makes total sense. Like, you can't just fuck with people for that long without them fucking back. You know? No,
I do see that point. I do, man. I really do. But like, I gotta fucking say, is like, I can't condone any kind of violence like that. I mean, but you're right. How long can you stand there and watch people?
I can't condone the police's violence towards black people.
I can't either, and I agree with you. I completely agree with you. How
long are you gonna get murdered and just not do anything about it and not fucking burn some shit down? Like, it's sad that this is even happening, but I don't know. Am I saying it's the solution? I don't fucking know. Right. I'm just a dude.
Right.
But it's like I remember when I was a little fat kid and there was these older bullies that fucking, they would like push me down after school, like, and after so many times. You ever seen the movie Christmas Story, where the fucking the bully Scott Farkas kept pushing down Ralphie with the glasses and kept just like the bully kept terrorizing his group of friends until he fucking snapped. And then Ralphie jumps on the kid and just beats the ever-living fuck out of him, just like bloodies up his face. And I don't know if that's the best analogy, but dude, if you're bullied for long enough, you're gonna fucking snap.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and that's why it's such a hard thing to even comment on, because it's like, yeah, of course, you can't just sit there and get your shit. You can't get your feet stomped on and not expect to fucking kick back. It's like there is validity to that, and you know, I guess I want to.
I'm not saying it's the right way. No, I'm just saying I get it.
It's just a way. No, for sure. And who are we to say what's right and wrong? But it looks like the chat is going off on some stuff. Hold on, let me check. Let me check it on some stuff. Low key Yug says people say it takes away freedom to wear a mask when it's mandated. Why wear a seatbelt in the car then? I don't understand. It keeps people safe. And that's another thing about the mask too, is like Snooze Mew brought that up. He was saying that it's not for people to keep in mind, for people who don't want to wear the mask. It's like, it's not for yourself. It's for other people. So just, is it going to kill you to be a little bit more, you know, kind-hearted and think about others rather than yourself? But you know, this is America, low key. We don't fuck around.
That's the thing, is when I'm wearing my mask and I'm riding my bike around Long Beach, there's a lot of motherfuckers that just aren't wearing it, and they're literally putting me in danger because they don't feel like wearing a mask. And the reason I wear it is because I don't want whatever's in me to get into other people, you know? I mean, and there's a lot of memes and there's a lot of, it's explained scientifically. I don't know if I could to me, it just makes sense. I wear a mask, and and also, what's fucked up about LA County right now is it's on fire, man. I mean, a lot of California's on fire right now. So if you actually like walk outside and you like look towards the sun, there's like a haze in there. I'm on the South Bay, but it's wild. Like, it's hard to breathe, and I can't even imagine what it's like north of here, in like Tahoe and stuff. Like, people are just getting smoked out. There was all this lightning that struck, and it just started all these brush fires. It's crazy. There's some apocalyptic shit going on.
I know, man.
Right?
I know, man. It's like fire tornadoes, and fucking. And what was it? They're releasing all those mosquitoes in Florida. There was a Category 2 hurricane in Iowa last week that took out 40% of the corn crop. Inland Category 2 fucking hurricane. What?
How does a hurricane happen inland? That's crazy.
In Iowa, in fucking Iowa, like easily one of the worst states in America. Fucking Iowa, and fucking it's just getting. I'm sorry, Iowa. I don't mind Iowa that bad. It's not that bad.
I mean, it's Slipknot, bro. Slipknot's from Iowa.
Hey, fucking Midwest, man. Midwest comes hard with it.
Yeah, it was cornfields. Yeah, I never had a great time touring in Iowa, but
me neither. I've never toured there, but I've gone through there.
I'm sure there's cool people in Iowa.
It's fine. It's a fine state.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine because there's cool people everywhere. One time, I do want to tell this story very quickly. One time, like we played in Iowa, and this dude, he's like, "Your band can crash at my house," and we went to his house. And then he proceeded to like brag to us for an hour about how cool he was, that he was like cheating on his wife with some younger, hotter chick. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, is that cool? Is that what you brag to strangers about? Like, I'm fucking this girl, even though I made a legal vow to another human being and it's wild. But like, human beings are strange, especially men. When men get together and they want to fucking flex about how fucking cool they are, it's usually some weird shit. Like I played football in high school, and it's a bunch of like young men like trying to be men, but they don't know what a man is. They're just like, well, a man's this. That locker room talk shit is real. There's I don't know if it's like that anymore because this was in the 90s because I'm old, but there's a lot of fucking toxic ass men bragging about some toxic ass shit to each other with their dicks hanging out. It's a strange place, strange world.
It is, man, and I think that's why we have a lot of people who are against the toxic masculinity. But I also think that men are sort of being a little neutered in some aspects. You know what I mean? Like. Men aren't exactly allowed to be men, and I'm not saying men aren't allowed to be like, hey, sweetheart, nice titties, you know, like it's not what I'm talking about, but you know, just to be interested in things that are manly can deem you to be a fucking meathead asshole douchebag, you know, like
yeah. It's a case, once again, just like everything we've been talking about, I feel it's like a case by case basis, and it's a nuanced conversation because you can't just be like, anyone that watches MMA is a fucking idiot. Right. I'm sure there's intelligent people that enjoy MMA, or anyone that likes sports is a fucking moron. I'm sure there's respectable people who respect women and who are decent human beings that like sports too. But it seems like the loudest voices from a lot of these communities really ruin it for the rest of people, you know?
Yeah.
Like the Monster Energy drink tattoo guy with the lifted truck that just is picking fights with people for them looking at them. Like that gives the MMA bro kind of a bad look, you know, a bad name. So
it certainly does. It certainly does.
It's tough, you know, because I'm sure, and I hate to say this, I'm sure there's some Trump supporters that aren't total douchebags.
No, there's not.
But then you have, I mean, I'm sure, you know, there probably some that just are like a little brainwashed by the rhetoric and are like, oh yeah, you know, Trump's looking out for me. I'm a Republican. I'm going to vote for him. But the loud, emboldened voice of the uneducated, like just blah blah Trump supporter ruins it.
They do. They really do. Well, I mean, and then look at who he's appealing to and who he's trying to appeal to, and that also gives you a little bit of a clue on that.
What's crazy is when he came out and he said, if I were to ever run for president, I would run Republican because he said they were a bunch of idiots. Like he's quoted as saying that.
Yeah.
He pretty much called it before he even decided to get into politics. He's like, yeah, I would be a Republican just because I could totally manipulate that.
Right. Because they did the groundwork.
What happened?
Yeah. Well, they did the groundwork. They They did a really good job of convincing poor people that they have their best interest at heart, and I mean. It's both sides. I don't want to say Republican or Democrat because both sides at this point are just the fucking most disgusting, out of touch fucking group of assholes I've ever seen, like in the world, like literally in the world. They're just so.
Did you see that meme where it's the kid at the basketball game with it trying to shake the hands of the basketball players and they're all ignoring him?
No.
Okay, it's a meme, but it pretty much the little kid is poor people thinking that the billionaires give a fuck about them. You know, none of the billionaires are shaking hands with the poor people. Is essentially what the meme is explaining. It's like, no one who's in a position of power that has a lot of money gives a fuck about poor people.
No.
And this is coming from the mouth of a person that's in a low income bracket, myself. So.
You know what, Snooze Moo, even Bernie Sanders rolled over and took it in the behind by his own, well, not his own party, but by, you know, like, I love Sanders, and I would have been all about Sanders too, or Andrew Yang. Yeah. Thank you. I was all about Yang Gang for life. That's, I mean, fucking. The thing
I want that UBI, baby. Give me that UBI.
Well, look at what happened, and look at. Did you read anything by Andrew Yang at all? I mean, his book was.
I saw him speak on some different podcasts, but I didn't necessarily read any of his platform or anything. I'm not really that well versed in politics.
Yeah, me neither. I just talk like I am.
But what Yang had to say, it was interesting. Like the whole UBI thing is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the inner workings of it were, but he seemed like an intelligent, well-spoken guy that had interesting ideas. You know?
Yeah, he has really good ideas, and like, well, his book is just this like really dark and stark sketch of the future, right? It's this like. Automation is taking out everyone's jobs. Everyone's going to be destitute unless we get everybody on some kind of UBI thing. People in Silicon Valley are actively looking to take your job. It's not the fucking Mexicans, bro. It's Silicon Valley taking your fucking job. And so this pandemic, what's interesting and why he was tapped so hard but then left behind again was that he had this sort of this knowledge of how communities work. I mean, he went to Detroit and he started these small businesses. He did so much work in Detroit. He did so much work in Cleveland. He knows what it takes to be a community leader.
Wow.
And he had a very good idea of how to sort of get us out of this upcoming disaster, which the pandemic sort of accelerated, because his idea was in the next 10 years, automation is going to be taking out truckers, taking out Uber, which Uber just got taken out of California, which is interesting. That's a lot of people out on their ass.
I read that they were going to get rid of it, and then they decided not to last minute.
Oh, okay. So. My bad. Fake news, everybody. But anyways.
Well, no, but I think this just happened this morning.
Oh, okay. Right on. Well, they did in California, they were going to eliminate Lyft and Uber because they have these crazy.
Here it says court grants stay for Uber and Lyft in California.
It would be.
And that was one.
It would be a disaster. It would be a fucking disaster. How many people are relying on that right now to get by? Like, how many people? Like, it would literally fucking sink a huge part of a California economy to make all those people unemployed all right at once. It's bad enough that we had the whole fucking world go under all at once. Now we're going to take these localized economies out as well. But what Andrew Yang was all about was how UBI is going to be this very important thing because of how technology is going to take our jobs. And, COVID took our jobs, and we sort of find ourselves in that situation. And, Yeah,
we're here already, man.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck automation taking our jobs. Our jobs are gone because of this pandemic.
I mean, did you ever think that the gigs would be gone? I mean, because I've lived through a moment where there was not a lot of gigs, and you have too in 2008. I don't know how that worked out for you guys when
I was touring a lot in 08, but it was a lot of just, like super DIY, like just driving around the country doing basement shows and playing record stores type shit. Did I ever? You know what? I always thought gigs were gonna be here, and there's a part of me that it's a blessing and a curse. Like a good amount of my income had to do with like doing these gigs where I would be essentially a hired gun. I play in this band Reagan Youth where I'm a hired gun singer, and then I was backing HR from Bad Brains as a hired gun guitar player singer.
Cool.
And in 2019, those were like my big pay gigs because I was playing with groups that were definitely more high profile than my band. Like my band, you know, there's a few markets where we do decent, but when you're backing the guy from Bad Brains, like you're gonna get paid every night because there's an interest like in every single market where there's like music to go see that guy. So we had plans. We were gonna go to Japan and Hawaii, and that was gonna happen in 2020, and all that shit just. And then I had a tour with Reagan Youth where we were gonna do a Midwest tour, and we had contracts and guarantees, and we had set amount of money that we were going to make, and I was looking forward to that. I was going to get on a plane and do the Midwest thing with a classic punk band, and I was going to sing, and that went away. But a consolation for all the COVID shit happening is it really gave me an opportunity to concentrate on making content by myself, being more self-reliant, getting some decent gear. I sold a bunch of my old shit and I bought a bunch of new stuff, and I'm like, I actually have a makeshift studio now, which is amazing because I've always been an idea guy, but I never had a way to produce my own shit. And I always, like, ever since the 2000s, the early 2000s when I started my band, I'm just like, oh, I'll just pay someone to engineer my music. And that's just the way it works. You like make money at the gigs, and then you take that money and you go pay an engineer to record your shit. But it's like, why wasn't I ever like, well, I could do it myself if I just get the gear? And like COVID, what happened with COVID is it forced me to fucking be very self-reliant because all I have is me right now, because I'm not playing in a band. I'm not jamming with people. Everything I'm doing is remote. And I already was doing video editing and the podcast shit. And now I'm just leaning into that way more. And that's why I started streaming too, because I saw my friends were making a living doing streaming as a band. And I'm like, wow, I thought it was just video games. And my friends in the band Psycho Stick. And
are they on Twitch?
And then Glow Stick. Yeah, they're on Twitch. Dude, they fucking destroy on Twitch.
Nice.
They're killing it because, well, they have a big like international fan base.
Oh, so they already had a jump start in this whole thing.
Yeah, like they have like 200K Facebook likes.
Mm-hmm.
Their most recent album that came out in 2017 or 2018, I believe, it debuted at #1 on the Billboard comedy charts because they're considered like a comedy band. But they beat out like Ron White's album.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And these are just some knuckleheads that are my buddies that live in Chicago, but their content is like top notch. All the videos they make are professionally produced, but they do it all themselves. They have this like insane DIY work ethic. And so even before COVID, they were going on Twitch and they were like having fundraising goals and just nailing it. And then when COVID happened, dude, they do a fundraising goal, right? And it's usually like $3,000 a stream. They hit it every fucking time.
Jesus.
They make in just donations, not bits, not fucking back end, anything. In just donations, they're making $300 to $4,500 just because they have so many fans tuning in. Like on Facebook, they'll have like 600 people watching. On Twitch, they'll have like 300 people watching. And then on YouTube, they'll probably have like between 600 and 800 people watching. So they restream it to those 3 different platforms, and they have a following on every platform.
Jesus.
And what they do, and this is even more amazing, is they incentivize their fans to give them money based on, we're going to give 50% of these donations to a charity. And every week they're giving half of that $3,000, which is $1,500 a week, to ACLU, you name it, like all types of different charities. They've raised, since the pandemic started, for charity, I think they've raised like $20,000 or some fucking crazy part. Yeah, like,
bless them. Bless their hearts.
I saw what they were doing, and I'm like, dude, if I'm just gonna try it out. And the first time I ever went live on Twitch, I got $500 in donations. The first time. it tapered off.
Yeah.
You know, it tapered off, but like people were excited to see me do like a live show, but it wasn't at a venue. It was on the internet. And when I did that, I was like, holy shit. Like you can go live on Twitch and you could do the same shit you do on stage. Well, it's a little different for me because I just use a loop machine.
Yeah.
And then I play along to pre-recorded tracks. So it's not as cool as being in a band, but it's like what I realize is like, oh, it's holy shit. Like I can do the same dumb shit I do on stage and I can do it on the internet. And I don't have to drive 6 hours to get to a gig. I don't have to fucking sleep on somebody's floor. You know, and that was a huge eye-opening experience for me. I'm like, dude, like when shows come back, how inclined am I going to be to fucking drive 6 hours to play for a $200 guarantee that I have to split between two other band members if I could just stay and play for people on the internet and fare way better, you know? Less fatigue, less miles on the van. I mean, I'm going to do it anyway. When gigs come back, I'm going to play because I just am addicted to that shit. I love being on stage. But man, what a crazy experience this has all been. Because once you realize you don't need live gigs, it's like why was I touring 100 days out of the year for fucking 10 years if I didn't, you know? But Twitch wasn't around 8 years ago, and it might have been, but it's a really large platform now, you know?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Because no, I agree, man. And
it's wild.
More I talk to people, because a lot of Twitchers, man, it's interesting. There's a lot of Twitchers who weren't really gigging musicians, and they just came on the Twitch because it was fun, and they like to play in their. I think like Low Key Muke. I'm so sorry. I think Low Key Uke is probably familiar with that. I don't know actually. I'm not assuming. I'm sorry, Low Key. But there's musicians on Twitch that weren't gigging, working full-time musicians who maybe just played in their room and just like to do it and have fun. It's surprising. Oh, yeah. But when you talk to the people who were like really did it and really gigged and really like, I mean, and you know, and this is perfect because like I have this little thing that I like to talk about is where, you know, you pack up your car or van and you set out to the gig, you get there fucking 5 hours early, you set up, and then you just sit there waiting to play, and then you get done at maybe 2 or whatever it is, and then you have to drive hours to the next one. Or you drive home or whatever it is. And then if it's winter and if you're in Detroit, it's like 20 below zero and fucking you got to unload this fucking equipment at 4 a.m, fucking half drunk, stoned or whatever, fucking carrying this bullshit into your house so it doesn't freeze in the fucking car. And I mean, every time I talk to it gets me fucking worked up because that's the part that sucks so bad. So when I talk to these people who come from the gigging touring world to Twitch, it's always the same thing. And myself included, it's like, why?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Why? Why do that?
But I will say, I miss being in a room with my friends making noise.
I agree with you.
But that being said, if COVID wasn't a thing, I would find a way to just stream fucking the full band.
Yeah.
So right now I'm just doing the best with what I can, and that's, you know, I got Adobe Premiere, I got Logic Pro X, I got a couple of decent mics, I got a nice interface, and I'm just trying to be as creative as I can on the days I'm not super fucking depressed. And I try to go live 3 times a week on my Twitch channel, and you know, people have been very generous. It's like the small little fan base that I've carved out over the years for what I do with Downtown Brown or, you know, my solo shit. They've been just super fucking supportive, and I'm just a really lucky dude that I'm able to get that support and get those, you know, get some of those views, and people throw donations my way or bits or whatever. It's just, I feel just the fact that I've been able to survive off of it for however many months is, it's like a godsend.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a religious guy, but I will use that term. And I'm just, yeah, it's fucking nuts, man. Every day is like, I try to be as grateful as possible for all of the support that I have and for the fact that I've been able to survive. And then it's like that gratitude, I try to use that as a weapon to fight off the constant depression that comes from just being an aware human being in the internet age during this fucking political discourse and this sea change of just watching human beings evolve in real time on the internet. It takes a lot out of you.
It's true. It's stressful.
And I'm not even in the street flying signs, man. Like, I can't even imagine how taxing it is for the people who are marching every day.
Yeah.
Or people that have to fucking go work at Trader Joe's every day. Like I don't like, man, everything's so fucked up right now.
Yeah, man. No, have you been has your sleep patterns been fucked up since this started?
Oh yeah, I get terrible sleep lately. I got some good sleep last night, but I ate an edible. I got pretty baked and I just passed out.
That's tight.
But it's weird because I've been getting up like when the sun comes up lately. I'll go to bed at like 10 p.m. and wake up at 5.
Yeah.
On these like old man hours. But it's nice. My girlfriend sleeps in. So I get like 2 or 3 hours of like dead silence in the morning, so I can just like get caffeinated and do some internet shit, edit some video.
I love that time. I used to hate getting up early, as you probably did too. Musicians, early is not a great time. But
I've always been an early guy.
Well, not me, but lately. But I've learned to really appreciate those few hours of like, because I'll wake up at 3 a.m. sometimes and just be like, fuck it, I'm going. And I've learned to really appreciate those 3 hours or so, or however it is before everyone's awake, when the house is quiet. And I don't know, man, like first of all, I shouldn't be communicating with the outside world at that time. And unfortunately, I get on Twitch and I am doing just that. And I am saying ridiculous things that I wouldn't say at a fully awake thing. But that aside, I also get like a shit ton done. And like, it seems to be like some of the most creative hours for me is sort of when it's still dark and it's quiet. And I mean, part of that is just that it's quiet and you're by yourself. But I don't know, like, do you feel like there's some kind of something there? You know, like, do you think there's something kind of special there for creatives in the nighttime, especially in the late nighttime hours?
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
Well, this is the thing, is I like, as far as my productivity is concerned, it just hits at random times. Like there are, like what you said, there are days where I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and I'll be like, I'm just gonna start working on this project. Next thing I know, it's fucking like 1 p.m. the next day. You know, you just get caught in these modes where you get kind of obsessed with what you're doing, and I think it's different for everyone, but it can hit you literally at any time. Some people, that shit hits them at fucking midnight and they spend the entire night, you know, working on something. Me, I just like get up mad early and then I'm like jazzed to do a bunch of weird shit. And then I get super tired early. I'll like eat dinner at like 6:30 or 7. And I'm in bed by like 8 watching TV, just winding down, you know that. But that's just my mode now. But I like, there's been times where I've been a weird insomniac. Like I was like living in a basement, so I never knew when the sun was up or not. So I'd sleep like 4 hours like during the day, and then I'd like wake up and work on shit until like late at night, and then I'd get like did you ever hear where they talked about who was the really smart motherfucker? Was it Edison that would like sleep 2 hour increments?
Yeah, like and some people do like 20-minute increments, and then on the top of every hour.
Prince never slept a whole lot either. Well, from my understanding, I'm not saying I'm like any of those people because those are like mad geniuses. I'm just, you know, some dude.
All I'm trying to say is that I'm fucking sweet like Prince.
Oh no.
Yeah, no.
It's not.
The I don't know, man. The sleep thing is fucks with me, and the depression thing. I was just curious, like, you know, like since the beginning of this is like I've always had the deal with depression, but since the beginning of this, there's just been this low key, and I feel like this is probably pretty universal for a lot of people out there that are, you know, dealing with the pandemic and trying to wrap their fucking head around it. But is this just this feeling, just melancholy, just this low-level depressive state that can go up or down at any given day or
nothing
moment.
matters.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in that sense, but like just there's this low level hum that I feel, and I usually have that anyways, but it just seems like it's just a little bit elevated. But I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you try to manage those ups and downs, especially during the pandemic?
Well, I have a therapist, but I haven't talked to her in a minute, and pretty much she's taught me. Her mode has been for me to weaponize gratitude and a way to kind of use it as a sword to fight off the negative feelings. But fuck, yesterday, I'm grateful for a million things, and I'm a really lucky person, and I'm well aware of that. But there's some days where it's just don't want to do anything. I feel amotivated. I feel like things are hopeless, and then I go online and it gets worse because I'm just like watching everybody fight, and I'm watching these Twitch streamer political debates, and everyone's screaming at each other, and I'm just like, it weighs on you. A lot of my friends are in the activist community in Detroit, and I feel, because I'm out here, I feel almost guilty that I can't be with them. And then I ask myself, even if I was out there, would I be with them? And the answer is, if I was in contact with my mother, probably not, because I don't want to be around, fucking 100 people shouting.
Yeah.
Some of them masked, some of them not masked. And then like, I don't want to get my mom sick. So there's like all these different levels of guilt. Like I feel guilt just for going to the grocery store because I see that the person like wearing a mask behind the counter and they have to fucking bag groceries for 8-10 hours a day. And they're not getting paid hazard pay, and so I just accumulate all these things, and I can't really, like, my girlfriend's like, what are you depressed about? I can't put my finger on it. I'm just depressed. Everything's fucking terrible. I'm sad, Yeah. And as far as combating it, the way I just look at it like a dark cloud, and some days I just have to give up and let the dark cloud just like rain on me for a little bit, and then I'll go to sleep, and like I feel a little bit better today than I did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But yesterday was one of those dark cloud days where I'm just like, ugh, everything's fucking terrible. And then you go online, you're like, everything's fucking terrible. And then you get off your phone and you're just like, I don't feel like doing anything. And then you get mad at yourself because you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's all these projects I should be working on. I'm working on, engineering this one song. I got to cut vocals for this one song. And like, I have this video to make. I have to schedule these podcasts, blah, blah, blah. And then you don't do anything. And then there's just guilt. And you just beat yourself up for being not productive. But then people say, it's okay. It's okay to take a self-care day and not be productive. But people like me, if I'm not constantly doing something, I get mad at myself. I tell myself, you're fucking lazy, So it never ends.
There's no balance. There's no balance. That's a...
No, and there wasn't a whole lot of balance even when life was normal. Yeah. It's been a fucking roller coaster ever since I got into my 20s. When I was a teenager, I was a fucking happy guy. I was on top of the world. I was popular. I got good grades. I played sports. I played in a punk rock band. I was like, I had friends. I had fun all the time. I was like constantly drawing. I was like, I structured my high school classes to where all I had was art and music classes.
Nice.
Like, it's so easy. And then I got out in the real world, and that's when anxiety and depression really set in. It's like they were like waiting for me to actually try and live in the real world before they reared their ugly heads, and they're just like, oh, I didn't know what it was until like 2005. I didn't know that I was depressed and anxious until like probably like 4 or 5 years into being depressed and anxious.
Holy shit. Wow.
And it's been there ever since.
No, it took me like 15, 20 years to figure it out. You know what I mean? It took me like years of burning bridges and drunken nights. And one of the things that definitely resonate with when I hear you talking about your glory days and is having to wake up the next morning and do the apology tour and fucking hey, you were a fucking asshole. Yeah, you grabbed my girlfriend's tits, you son of a bitch. No, I never did that, but I might have. No, I wasn't that horrible. I kind of was with my friends. If they were my friends and they were my girls, not my girls. That sounds horrible. what I was saying is that if they were my friends, I would get drunk and get a little lewd, and it was inappropriate, and I hate that part of my life, but it happened. So I don't know,
Well,
like
when you lower your inhibitions, you become essentially a cave person, and you will do shit when you're loaded on booze, and even fucking, what are they called? What's the class of drug? Opiates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, opiates will make you. Well, they'll make you more like not out than anything.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever, the only time I ever snorted OxyContin. I went to, well, first of all, when it first hit, when I took that first bump, I was like, I want to feel like this forever.
Right.
And that's when I knew that I can't, like, I've eaten a lot of Vicodin, but the only time I ever like fucked with something as strong as Oxy, I was like, dude, I was like, if you, like, you're gonna ruin. I remember my mom offered me. She had some sort of like a surgery where she got a bottle of OxyContin, and she said, your back hurts. Why don't you have these? And I'm just like, no. I'm like, you get rid of those. You fucking take them away from me. But because I already like had struggled with the alcohol, and I knew that with some like OxyContin it would just get worse. But yeah, I feel bad. I feel like I interrupted you, but yeah,
no.
The inhibitions, like, yeah, you become a different person when you're fucked up, and that's why you see a lot of these like intervention TV shows. Like, my girlfriend loves watching intervention, and when I watch it, it just makes me feel fucking terrible because I like can see myself in all of these people, and my girlfriend's like, this is really interesting, and I'm just like, this is like watching my life, but like over and over again. A lot of these humans like were way worse off than I was even at my drunkest, but it's like it's not like I watched that show and I'm just like, oh, I feel great now. I just watched someone fucking ruin their life and cry in front of their family and suffer, and then 9 times out of 10 with that show they fucking relapse.
Yeah,
like the show ends and then a little text bubble will come up and it'll say, you know, Laura relapsed after recovery after 2 days.
Yeah,
and then so you, at the end of every episode, you feel like all of this hope.
Yeah.
But then, like, literally 30 seconds later, that hope is just decimated. You're just like, oh, so they didn't get help. And then you're like, let's watch another episode, honey. It's like, I don't know, man. That show's fucking rough.
Yeah.
It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's not fun. It hurts to watch that shit. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I feel that. I feel you on that, and for me, it's like I dislike that part of me so much, even though sometimes I catch myself glorifying that part of me a lot. But
the good parts, the fun parts,
the fun parts, right? But
yeah, but they're few and far between if you've been at it for a while.
Exactly, and to, I don't know, I'm just, my tolerance for that as well for other people who are in the midst of that has gone down. Like, I am very compassionate when it comes to addiction for people who really want to get help, and I would totally be there for somebody. But it's just like, you know, I mean, you know what it's like to be at a bar and playing, and some drunk guy's like 2 inches from your face yelling fucking Freebird or whatever the fucking thing is.
I hate drunk people.
Yes, I know. So
it's a strong word, but I am highly annoyed by belligerent drunk people, especially after I stopped drinking, which was in 2008. And this might sound like kind of a dickhead thing to say, but as a frontman of a band, the drunkest, loudest, most idiotic person in the audience is always the funnest person to make a part of the show. And so I became like belligerent drunk people annoy the crap out of me, but I always would, if they started being unruly and belligerent, I'd even bring them on stage and have them say stuff into the microphone. Like I always, as a front person of the band, would take that upon myself.
Well, I think that's it's like when a comic is trying to, you know, subvert a heckler, right? You're trying to instead of
same thing.
Yeah, instead of ruining the show, ruining the vibe. Oh yeah, go do your thing, man. Yeah, totally. I agree with that shit, man. I mean, instead of ruining the vibe, why just fucking make it part of the show? And it's like, I was seeing that with people with chat too. How how when people come in and try to heckle and chat, it's like they don't really, you don't address it. You just keep it going and just let them fade into the background.
No, addressing hecklers is like, you need to address the hecklers because that makes for a better show, I think.
Well, for you, honestly, yeah. I just started talking to the chat real quick while you're adjusting.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But I was talking about how hecklers in chat, like sometimes the best thing is just let your mods take care of it and just fucking keep rocking.
Oh, yeah.
But like,
there's a lot of, if you watch Hassan Piker's chat,
Hassan,
he's just getting screamed. He's getting screamed at the whole time. He's like a leftist Twitch streamer, political Twitch streamer. He's really popular.
Okay.
They call him Woke Daddy. No, they call him Woke Bay. He's Woke Bay, I guess. According to the internet. A lot of people find him very attractive.
Oh,
but man, his chat is so toxic because a lot of right wingers will go on there and they'll try to troll him the entire time. You see just like all this like Pepe the Frog spam constantly.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Well, there's this guy named Wake the Beast who I fucking absolutely love. It's this black dude who just gets on there and he has these like really in-depth conversations about race and gender, and he's one of those guys who like he's like stand up and be heard and embrace your masculinity. Like he's very, but he's like gentleman when he addresses chat. It's like gentlemen and ladies, but like it's a show for men. Meditations for Men is the name of the show. It's fucking dope, but it's just that's gonna be attractive. Like that what I like about his chat is that he doesn't shut it down when people come in and start saying like rude or semi-racist things. People try to be respectful, but there are trolls who are just terrible, awful human beings out there. But he respects it, even if it's like, and you know why? It's because the Jews. and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna time you out, but this is why. And we're not going to have any kind of slanderous shit, but let's talk about it. It's probably because whoever raised you taught you that, and then or maybe you had a thing. And he just like, he goes through it in a way that's very like rational. And I think that's a lot of what we're missing today, is that there's no kind of rational discussion. And I saw what you're saying, Snoozeview, and I was definitely directly referencing what happened earlier in chat in this conversation, and that I actively just ignored it because I didn't want to bring it up. I didn't actually get a chance to read why he got timed out, but I let my mods take care of it, and that's fine. But I do find it interesting to talk to people who have these like very opposite ideas of mine, and I find that it is like a very, I mean, for me it's refreshing. Like I had a Trump supporter who's like one of my really good friends on a couple weeks ago, and chat hated him, and they still hate him, and I still hear things about how much they hate him, but it's like, but he's still like my really good friend. And this idea that we have to like cut out all these people who don't agree with us, well, first of all, it's ridiculous, because if you're talking about Trump, anybody who voted for Trump, I'm cutting out of my life. I'm unfollowing them. I'm unfriending them. I'm moving out of my neighborhood. I'm taking my kids out of school. I'm fucking, I'm not letting my kids ride the bus because I'm sure the bus driver. The thing is like, if you cut out all the people who vote for Trump, you're cutting out a good majority of the population, and that doesn't make sense. Like the teacher who teaches your kid might be a Trump supporter. The bus driver might be, you don't know who these people are. To just cut the conversation off, to say that because you voted for this guy that you're a terrible human being, you have no fucking right to speak on anything, is only pushing people into the arms of extremism. And I mean, that's why we're in this position in the first place, is that there is a lot of conversations being shut down. I don't know. Can you speak on that? I mean, what's your opinion on sort of?
I have some friends on social media and in real life that are right wingers that are Trump supporters, but they're not outwardly racist. But a lot of people will argue that if you support Trump, you're just a racist just by default. Right. So it's one of those things where you got to kind of deal with things on a case by case basis. If there's a Trump supporter in your chat that is straight up being a racist and is being hateful, and I don't know, like
no, they go. Anybody who says anything racist, fuck you, get out. I didn't get to read.
if someone just has like opposing ideas, but they're not a total dick about it, yeah, let's have a discussion. Like I'm a pretty open-minded dude. And I'm always down to see how people who are not on my side of things see things. But, you know, I posted this reaction video where my girlfriend and I just were reacting to the Phil from Pantera and some of his antics.
Oh, shit. Does he do things online?
Well, I mean, he not that he did things online, but there's that footage of him when he just got up in front of the audience and screamed white power and did a Nazi salute.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That
happened. Yeah. And so we just did like a reaction video and we plopped it on YouTube. And what's insane is regardless of his actions and how they come across is how many Pantera fans are just like ready to fucking fight people about how that guy who screamed white power isn't racist. And I don't know what the full context of him screaming white power was, but let's just put it this way. If you're a Pantera fan, you're gonna side with that guy. At least that's what I'm gathering from the amount of YouTube comments that are just like, like, how dare you? And what's funny too is this was during a stream, right? So it's just it's lazy content. It isn't like we did a whole lot of research. We were reacting, and then we plopped it on YouTube because we knew it would get some views. We put Phil in the thumbnail. We knew it would get some views. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel, so sue me. But either way, like. What's hilarious is every day my phone pings with another fucking Phil from Pantera supporter just being like, you got it all wrong, brother. He's not racist. He was making a joke when he screamed white power and did the Nazi salute. And I'm like, but I don't argue. I just kind of read and I'm like, wow, these human beings are very passionate. And I don't, I stopped listening to Pantera a while back. When I was in middle school, I thought it was really brutal, heavy music. And I'm like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But then I saw Down play live at Ozfest like 03, and Phil got on stage. This is why I stopped listening to Pantera, is because I'm just like, this guy's a douche, regardless of whether or not his views on race or anything is. He started the song, and then he stopped it. And this was in front of like, what, 4, 5, 6,000 people? And he's just like, oh, you guys aren't feeling it enough. Like, granted, it's in the middle of the summer in the Michigan heat at Pine Knob or fucking DTE, whatever you want to call it, and it's blacktop. Yes. They're playing in the parking lot, and people aren't fucking moshing hard enough. So he stopped the whole set, and he's like, "We're gonna start that one over again." and then he did that 3 more times. He started the song, stopped, told everyone they weren't going hard enough, and he started. And I'm just like, wow, I don't like this guy anymore. And that was before all the fucking white power shit and all of the arguably racist behavior. I'm just like, wow, I don't really like this guy. And so every time I like listen to Pantera after that, there's a song on Far Beyond Driven where he's like, I fucked your girlfriend last night. And I'm listening to that, I'm like, wow, this is like just kind of tacky. It's like I remember listening to Dr. Dre 2001 in like the late 90s, that the one that had Eminem on it. Fucking nowadays they put on the top, they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move lips.
It's just but gibberish. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, like in 99 or 2000 when that album came out, I was like, this is fucking fire. But like I remember listening to it probably 10 years later in like 2010, and it's just fucking the misogyny and everything about it. There's a skit on Dr. Dre 2001 where he's like, he's like having sex with a chick, and he's like, I'm coming, I'm nutting, and he's like all over your face, and she's like, I'm ready, and I'm just like listening to this, I'm like, I don't like this anymore, and I don't think I've gotten pruder in my older age. I just think I'm different. I just don't I'm not a little teenage boy anymore being like, yeah, this is the shit. He's doing a skit about coming on some girl's face. Oh, I nutted. I just nutted. It exists. If you get Dr. Dre 2001, if you stream it, there's a track on the album called like Porn or something. It's called Sex or something like that. And it's just a skit of him nutting on some girl's face. and like the point I'm trying to make with all of this is you can enjoy things, and then you can look back at them like and realize that there wasn't a whole lot enjoyable about it. Oh, and also, like you were talking about separating art from the artist. I have a hard time doing that with Phil from Pantera because I like after that whole like you guys aren't rocking hard enough. It kind of killed it for me, and you know, I don't know. It just kind of killed it for me. I like. Okay, Cowboys from Hell. That's an amazing song. Yeah. I'll listen to that song every time it comes on because
Cemetery Gates, though. I mean, come on, Cemetery Gates.
Yeah, no, like those songs are amazing. And Phil back in the day was an amazing vocalist, but shit just doesn't speak to me. Listening to Dr. Dre like faux nutting on a woman's face, it doesn't really speak to me anymore. I'd rather listen to like David Bowie.
I don't know. No. I feel you. A lot of those like old early 2000s stuff, like when you watch like that the Eminem just didn't age well with just how identity politics have taken over the mainstream. That shit doesn't age well. But
I love his first record.
Oh my god, I love dude. I love it. You know what? Can you talk about
his first two records, dude? When that hook in the very beginning of the Marshall Mathers LP, the you don't want to fuck with Shady, cause Shady. Well, I can tell you. Yeah. I mean, you know what? Like he had that beef with ICP, right. But his first two albums. Eminem's first two albums were just as outlandish and cartoony as any ICP album. So for him to have that much of a beef with those guys, I think it's funny because chopping your nugget with a hatchet is not much different than Shady will fucking kill you. It's the same thing. It is. Except, you know, Eminem didn't dress up in clown makeup, but it's so cartoony.
Right.
Like
it was outlandish. It was.
Yeah, and that's what made it fun because it didn't take itself too seriously. I think when Eminem started getting really on that, like, you know, you can better yourself, and you know, I was at a real low place, and there's nowhere to look but up. Like that whole like motivational speaker Eminem's like kind of genre.
Yeah.
But I love Eminem, man. He's one of the best to ever do it.
Right, for sure.
But definitely those first two albums, he was talking about like just doing tons of drugs and killing his wife, and it was like way over the top.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
But Dr. Dre, it fell a little bit more into that like the gangster mold, you know, just opening up a 40 ounce and spraying it on a bunch of chicks. Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't think that aged very well. Even in the Gin and Juice video, there's or it's a Dre Day. In the Dre Day video, there's literally a scene in the video where he and Snoop Dogg just open up 40s and they just pour them on these chicks. Like, ah! It's like I don't know if that would fly. I mean, that was the 90s. I don't know if it would fly now. Probably. Well, I don't know. Maybe it would. I mean, that WAP video pretty intense. But there's a lot of moisture.
But there's a woman. It's a woman. It's a woman doing it. It's not a guy doing it. So it's okay.
The script is flipped.
Go ahead.
And we, my girlfriend and I did a reaction on stream for the WAP video because she hadn't seen it, and we posted that on YouTube and got a bunch of comments like, people are so angry if you we're just laughing. We're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like we were and then we watched the Ben Shapiro footage where he is going over the lyrics. Have you seen that shit?
No, I haven't. No, I didn't see Ben Shapiro's breakdown of it, but I do like Ben Shapiro's breakdowns of stuff.
Shapiro's reading the lyrics to WAP, and he's saying wet ass P word. P word.
He doesn't swear.
Beat it up. No, because he doesn't swear.
Because he's hardcore Jew. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a nice religious person.
Yeah.
And then he says, beat it up, N-word. Like, dude, you gotta find it online. It's fucking classic. Duh. So we react to that, and there's people in the comments that are just like, you don't understand. You don't understand wet ass pussy. Like we were having a blast. It's so weird. It's like you can go online and just like have fun and laugh at stuff, and people will just tell you how stupid you are.
I hate you for doing that. You son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's like, no, you of course Cardi B can do the split. She was a stripper, you fucking idiot. And I don't know what Cardi B can do. I was just commenting on how impressive it was that she was that flexible.
Dude, I mean, I personally fucking appreciate some hot ass chicks fucking talking about wet pussy. I'm cool with it. Like, I have no qualms with watching hot ass chicks shake their asses around and talk about wet pussy. Personally, I appreciate that. I mean, as a man who appreciates the female form, I appreciate it. Thank you. But well, go ahead.
It's like you know who Anthony Fantano is, the needle drop, the melon, the guy that does a music review on YouTube.
No.
Bald guy, glasses.
No.
He's like the most famous music reviewer on the internet. Oh. Either way, his take on it is just like, dude, how long have we been hearing about, you know, rappers being like, I beat that pussy up. You know, Lil Wayne talks about beating pussy up in like 900 different metaphors. Yeah. And it's like, why would you be offended if that got flipped around? And it's indicative of the just rampant misogyny, you know, because you'll straight up cheer when a guy's talking about beating up pussy, but if a woman is rapping about her sexual desires and fantasies and being empowered in doing so, you know, like Ben Shapiro he's like offended by it. A lot of people were like super offended by it, and so I showed it to my girlfriend, and she's just like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, I thought it was great. Fucking, I was laughing the whole time with a boner. I was laughing with a boner. It was great.
We're having fun.
I was just curious because your band does have some connections with ICP, correct? Didn't you guys collaborate, or did I get that all wrong?
We did a track with them in 2012, and we played The Gathering twice, and then we opened for them 3 times.
Okay, and was one of those in Toledo?
One of them was at Headliners in the Big Room in Toledo. That was 2011.
Never mind, that wasn't it. I was like, because I know I've seen it, and I swear to God it was with ICP, or maybe a band called Lollipop Lust Kill. Dude, I was so shit-faced back then, it doesn't matter. Anyways.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think we ever played with Lollipop, but they were one of those big local Toledo, like, nu metal bands.
Yeah, for sure. But it was just one of those, I think it was one of those weird Frankie shows where I just end up there. Fucking magnets, how do they work? Oh, question for the guests. How do magnets work?
It's science.
Science, Snooze Mew. Science. Anyways,
go
ahead.
Shaggy in that song, Shaggy 2 Dope will be like, I don't want to talk to a scientist. They all lying, getting me pissed, you know? but you know, that whole takeaway on ICP, like, that's the most famous, like, ICP meme that people that don't know. I knew, like, the thing is, ICP was just a local Detroit thing in the early 90s, and the first time I ever heard him was in 94.
Yeah, like 95, 96, right? Like, I was starting to hear about them. I'm pretty sure. I mean, maybe I was too young.
They were like,
maybe
Toledo
98.
was one of the first clown towns, even before.
Yeah, the East Side was nothing but. The East Side was nothing but juggalos, bro.
Yeah. Before, the term juggalo didn't even come around till like 98 after Malenko came out.
That had to have been when I came into it, because it wasn't like I was a fan of them, but my friends all loved them and stuff. So anyway,
when I was a freshman in high school, we listened to them on tape, and this was in 95. Yeah, this was 95, and my friends and I just started smoking weed, and we would get high and listen to Carnival of Carnage, the 1992 first ICP album, the first Joker's card. And we would like be on the floor laughing so hard because so much of the lyrics, it's just so outlandish. Like you know how I was saying Slim Shady was arguably just as outlandish?
Yes.
I would say ICP is a little more outlandish than the first Slim Shady. Yeah. But it still was like you didn't take anything they said really too seriously, just like you didn't take Eminem seriously when he was talking about killing people, and you know, it just was like for comedic value, and it was just over the top for the sake of being over the top. And that's why Eminem has the Slim Shady moniker too, because he's like, this is a part of my personality that I get out through song where I could say the most fucked up shit. It's not actually me.
Right.
But it's a persona. But But yeah, the last gig we played with ICP was in 2014, so it's been about 6 years, and the Juggalos never really got Downtown Brown, and that makes sense because Downtown Brown's a weird pill to swallow for anyone, like even a Juggalo or a metal fan or a normie. Like, you got to have kind of an open mind. And so, but what was cool is they kept asking us to do shit, and we kept saying yes, because what were we going to do? Say no to playing the Gathering of the Juggalos? Like, I remember people be like, why are you doing that? You're going to tarnish your reputation. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, our reputation was already that we were this goofy fucking weird rock band that played all, like, we didn't have much of a reputation. We used to like fire cheeseburgers at the audience. So fuck.
No, my favorite is karate dancing. Okay, guys, it's time to karate dance, and then you see the whole crowd just doing karate dance. I would lost my fucking shit. That was beautiful, man.
Yeah, because we were making fun of those scene kids, because a lot of, like, in 07 or whatever, when, like, between 05 and 07, the MySpace, like, scene bands got really big, and then we just kind of made fun of that shit.
Then we made fun of it. But I was interested. I mean, well, I brought up ICP because I was just interested, since you guys work together. I know that doesn't make you guys like best friends. It doesn't mean that you're texting Shaggy every day asking how he's doing. But I was just curious on why was there that beef between fucking M and ICP?
Oh, they talk about it extensively, and Eminem doesn't really talk about it.
No,
but the brief version of it is, back in Detroit before Eminem got discovered by Dr. Dre, he would go to the shelter in St. Andrews Hall where ICP knew all the security, and ICP would work there, and ICP did all their shows at St. Andrews Hall, like before they started doing the bigger venues, and before ICP really got a lot of steam. It was doing like State Theater, Fillmore, bigger venues, but it's all Live Nation. It's all owned by the same people. And Eminem was passing out a flyer that had ICP's name on it as a special guest at his CD release party, but he never asked ICP to play the show, A, or B. ICP never said, yeah, we're going to perform at your release party. So that's where the beef started, because ICP actually like was given a flyer by Eminem, and they weren't in their makeup, and they're just like, what is this shit? And then some years went by, and Eminem got signed and got big, and I'm pretty sure one of them made a diss track first. I think ICP made a diss track first, where they made fun of My Name Is, and they called him Slim Anus.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so, like, yeah, so Eminem was a little weird in the beginning, and then ICP made a diss track, I believe, and then there's a skit on the Marshall Mathers LP where Shaggy and Violent J are sucking each other off or whatever on the second Eminem album, and then it got to a point where it just blew up even more. I guess some of Eminem's homies actually like shot at some ICP employees at one point. When we saw the Up in Smoke tour, Eminem actually brought out these blow-up dolls with clown makeup on and said, like, ICP could suck my dick, and then threw the, like, so it just escalated. And Violent J actually talks about it in, like, I've listened to his audiobook. I'm a huge ICP boy. I love everything about ICP.
That's awesome.
I don't listen to their music, but the lore and their story.
Yeah, it doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better the lore behind it. It's, you know who Acoustic Hookah has something. Not, I know it's completely different, but how they have. I know ICP went a little bit further than Hookah did, but like for that lore of a band and like the sort of the stories behind it. But please, I'm sorry to interrupt, just to make that Hookah reference, but
yeah. I mean, every band's got some lore. I mean, there's Downtown Brown lore for sure. There's like,
well, getting kicked off of Warped Tour is part of that lore, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, that happened. You know what's crazy is we got booted from Warped Tour in 07 because we were being drunk and disorderly, and one of our band members at the time was a pretty volatile guy that got us in a lot of trouble, but I was too drunk to stop it. But what's funny is, so I'm playing with HR, the Bad Brains guy, and we're doing this like Hollywood fundraiser in 2019. And like dude, the bass player from like No Doubt was there, and like Bob Odenkirk, who plays Better Call Saul, was like in the audience.
Oh,
like
cool.
Moby was there. So it's all these fucking there's all these Hollywood people. But then there's the dude, the Warped Tour guy, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "You did a good job up there with HR," and I'm just like, "You kicked me off." I didn't say this, but in my brain, I'm like, "You're the guy that kicked us off Warped Tour in 2007." I said, "Hey, I'm in that band Downtown Brown. We played Warped Tour," and he gave me this whole like, "Oh, yeah, you guys were great." And I'm just thinking to myself, dude, you literally single-handedly, like, you were there removing us. All of his fucking cronies kept calling us brah. They're like, you guys don't even know where your van is, brah. You guys are so drunk, brah. Get the fuck out of here, bro. They were like taking our gear and throwing it in the parking lot. Like, we got kicked off of Warped Tour.
You were literally kicked the fuck off.
And he was there. He's the one that's like, you guys are out of here. And it's so funny because that happened in 2007. And then 12 years later in 2019, that guy's like, oh, yeah, you guys were great. He just didn't remember. He didn't remember us. Right. But it was cute because I was all high on edibles and my girlfriend was there. I'm like, that's the guy that kicked us off Warped Tour. She's like, wow, he seemed really nice. It was one of those moments, those full circle moments.
But I'm curious. Did you guys do you think that you guys deserve to get kicked off, or do you think that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's 100%.
Oh, okay.
A guy in our band was smoking a cigarette in line for catering, and a Warped Tour. Because people are sensitive about cigarette smoke.
Of course, especially around food.
Especially if you're in line waiting to eat, and we're drunk as fuck, and it's midday, and we're already like well on our way to blackout. And this Warped Tour employee guy said, "Hey, can you put out your cigarette?" And the guy who was in my band at the time, I haven't talked to him in over a decade. I cut all ties with him. He took a hit of his cigarette and he blew it in the Warped Tour guy's face. So Warped Tour guy fucking decks him, and then cigarette guy decks him back. They start fighting, and we had gotten in trouble earlier for cutting a hole in one of the Warped Tour tents because there was this like torrential downpour, and those like circus style tents that you'll see at festivals where they like cover all the gear. Mm-hmm. The actual tent part of it, whether it's made of vinyl or something, it was like starting to sag because there was all this water collecting. Yeah. So cigarette guy, this was like maybe 2 hours previous, and we weren't as drunk. Cigarette guy cuts a hole in the tent and like takes a garbage can, lets all the water out. And he essentially like saved our gear. But Warped Tour guy was like, "You're out of here," just for that. Yeah. He's like, "You're out of here. You cut a hole in my tent." It's like, "No, we had to save the gear. There was a big." He's like, so we begged him. He's like, "All right, the next Warped Tour stop, you guys are going to get there early and you're going to patch up this tent." Oh, and we're like, "Yeah, thank you for not kicking us off Warped Tour." So when my band guy, the cigarette guy, punched a Warped Tour employee, and then the main guy of Warped Tour came and saw it was us, he's like, "You guys again? You're out of here." So yeah, in one day we damaged Warped Tour property. And then we punched a Warped Tour employee. And I say we because, if you're a band, it might as well have been all of us. I know our bass player at the time was sober, and he was just like, it was like being on Warped Tour, like getting invited to do multiple dates on Warped Tour was like the biggest thing that had ever happened to us. And when we got kicked off, like 5 days into our 7 or 8 days, it just... He wasn't in the band much longer. Let's just put it that way. He was done with us. Yeah. But yeah, dude. Like if you're gonna get invited on some like big tour, don't break shit and don't punch the employees. Don't get super blacked out and like run around naked. Like just don't.
And that's part of the lore of Downtown Brown.
Yeah. No, that's all real. Like that actually happened. It's crazy.
The Downtown Brown lore. Well,
fun and terrible.
I actually, talking about like ICP and like Slim Shady and just and how big of a reaction so many people had to this music, to the point where they're sending their kids to like church reform school for watching South Park and listening to Eminem. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, wow.
well, I mean, you remember how I mean, think about, like, remember fucking Al Gore and they were taking fucking people to task for was it Fuck the Police or was it Ice-T where he's like,
yeah, that was Tipper Gore, and that was the
yes,
it's called the PMRC. And Tipper Gore was on some sort of legislational task force where they were going to war against people like Ice-T, Body Count, for the song Cop Killer.
Right.
And then they had D. Snyder, Frank Zappa, and John Denver, of all people, like actually like spoke in Congress to say, hey, this is just art. But they ended up winning, and they put that big parental advisory sticker on all the tapes, CDs. But that's the thing about that sticker is when I was a kid, I wanted to buy every single album that had that sticker on it because I wanted to hear
more. Yeah.
I wanted to hear the Butthole Surfers, and I wanted to hear the Sex Pistols, and I wanted to hear fucking like 2 Live Crew. I wanted to hear all that nasty shit because when you're a little white kid in the suburbs and everything is super boring, you want to like explore some nastiness.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's like a White Zombie album or NWA or fucking Body Count, Ice-T, Ice Cube, all that shit.
I mean, and so you remember that. So you remember how much that, Marilyn Manson and even and ICP especially. I mean, Disney, the whole Disney debacle. Do you remember?
People were afraid of Marilyn Manson. They thought he was legitimately evil, which is like
they were blaming him for Columbine. He was blaming him for kids shooting up a school and Eminem, and so all of that. Do you remember that rhetoric? It seemed to me all came from the stringent right? Like that this uptight religious right. And I guess why I'm bringing all of this up is
I don't know. Is Tipper?
Was Tipper Gore? Were they Republican? Al Gore? Oh no, Al Gore was Democrat. Yeah,
I don't know. Either way, it's just out of touch. Fucking, like she would have been considered a Karen at the time.
Exactly. I guess it was
before Karen. So you could go on with the question.
No. Well, what I was saying is how political it was. Let's just keep it out of right or left because obviously that was just shit out the window. But something that I just sort of was kicking around in my head of how ironic it is that censorship has kind of come back around again. And now music is under fire again. Art is under fire again. Comedians are under fire again. But this time it just seems like it's like a cultural rejection. You know what I mean? And whereas before it was sort of this politically imposed sanction where they were like trying to control. Now it's sort of this cultural thing that's sort of, I don't know, flipped on itself. And now, people are not allowed to say certain things. And we were kind of talking about how like music tends not to age. Some of it doesn't age well. But there's also people making music or making art now that are commenting and still commenting on the culture and still making a valid contribution culturally, but still getting sort of shut down and sort of, excluded. I was just wondering what your thoughts are on that and how this has sort of turned into sort of a cultural rejection of art in some ways, and censorship especially. I don't know if I framed that very well, but
no, I like it. It just gives me a lot to think about. It's a tough one because you're right. Like it was definitely the people that were going against the bad stuff back in the 90s were like some out of touch politicians and parents that thought that this is poisoning the minds of the youth. And I feel like the culture has shifted because now you'll see people going apeshit on Twitter about something being objectionable, and it's not coming from the corporate or the politicians. It's coming from the people are enraged about something, and then the corporations act on that. Like, I mean, it literally is happening with Netflix right now. Netflix released that trailer or that photo of those little girls, and it said "cute" or something. Like, did you like? Are you aware of this? Is happening right now?
No, I didn't.
And it's fucking wild. It's like it's definitely like this Netflix show that seems, just based on its advertising, that it's like sexualizing these young girls in a really gross way, and everyone's just like, cancel Netflix. It's like in I don't know, like they might be able to pull the show, but they're asking for Netflix to be canceled, which is like, Netflix is one of the biggest entertainment commodities right now. I don't even know where I'm getting with all this, but it definitely is different because it's not coming from like out of touch politicians and older people that are out of touch with the culture. It's coming from the culture itself, and a lot of, you know, like woke Twitter and people our age and younger, like millennials and Zoomers, like they're just very quick to be like, this is why this is offensive. It's super weird because I don't know, when I was younger, the shit that was the most offensive was I was the most kind of turned on by that. I'm like, I want to know why they're putting a sticker on this and why they're saying it's bad and why they're trying to keep this from me. And so I was like, you know, even back as far as when I was in elementary school, I remember there was a Guns N' Roses double album that came out, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. It came out in 1991. And I remember like getting a bootleg tape of it and just listening to it over and over again and not knowing what any of the words meant, but I was like enamored by how visceral and offensive and almost pornographic it was. But that was just me. But now it's strange because the public is, I don't know what it is about now, but a lot of it is for the right reasons, because there's rampant misogyny and homophobia and all types of things that I think kind of should be reconsidered. But I if there's no freedom anymore in expression, like if it gets to the point where everyone, including comedians and artists and filmmakers, have to walk on eggshells to make sure that there's no offensive content ever, that there's like nothing is allowed to be produced that will cause a reaction to any, because everyone's extremely sensitive right now, and for a lot of the right reasons. But also, I think art should be sacred and it should be able to exist if the intention behind it isn't hateful. If it's just art, like it's weird. Like Huckleberry Finn, they're taking that out of collegiate courses because it just uses words. You know, it's not hateful rhetoric. It's a snippet from a time period where people use those words. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is like, I don't know, you can't just get rid of all bad things in art, in music, in film. I just think, you know, I think if that art, music, and film is a tool to promote hate, then it should maybe not exist. But if it's done in a way, like when I listen to Dave Chappelle tell jokes, I'm not like, oh, this is offensive because he's talking about offensive things. No, there's context to it. Mm. You know, like, I don't know. I think I think he does it in a nuanced way where you have to be kind of dense to just be hyper offended by it. He's a comedian, you know?
Yeah. No,
but also I'm a dude pushing 40 that like grew up in the 80s and 90s, so right. I might just not be. I don't know. I consider myself pretty aware of the things I say and what I deem to be offensive, and I don't know. I just don't think like you should erase anything that might be considered offensive.
Yeah, and that's the thing we're seeing sort of now, where people sort of like knocking over statues of President Grant and stuff like that, and or President Lincoln, my bad, and Grant, and these are people who fought on the right side of history, you know, and still yet they're being taken out of the conversation. Go ahead.
They're getting rid of LinkedIn. They're getting rid of the union statues now too.
Yeah, you didn't hear about that? In San Francisco, they took down the grant because
because I get Robert E. Lee. I get Robert.
Yeah, me
Lee,
too. And I get these statues that were built for very specific reasons to promote hate. I get take those fucking things out, and
word.
But the problem is that we're the old phrase is like those who forget history are doomed to repeat it, right? And I feel like when you're taking these conversations out of the pot, it's not helping us progress. You're actually you're stamping down progress because you're cutting the conversation out. You're cutting people like when you're telling people cancel them. You're telling people that they do not deserve to be heard. They should not ever be listened to, and everything that they own should be taken away from them. And I again, I'll say it again. When you silence people like that, you push them into the arms of fucking extremism, because those are the people who are going to listen, and those are the people who are going to feed into that, and those are going to be the people who participate in the echo chambers that perpetuate these ideas. And I mean, it just keeps going, and then all of a sudden you end up with a fucking orange guy as a president. It's a mess, man. And I'm not trying to offer any kind of solutions, but I definitely, we do need to take a pump on the brakes. And yes, people are standing up and for things that need to change. I agree with that, but we can't go so far as where we're going to start taking away our ability to speak our mind, because I think that's tyranny, right? Like, isn't it? I don't know. That's not really a free society when you are forced to not be able to say what you want to say. And of course, there's arguments against that with hate speech and stuff. But
yeah, we're watching that happen in real time right now. There's a lot of really divisive right wingers that have been deplatformed, and but also it's argued. You hear Hassan Piker talking about the deplatforming of Alex Jones, the InfoWars guy, and this is the thing: is his speech actually incited terrible things to happen to the parents of these Sandy Hook kids, where Alex Jones followers actually made those people's lives a living hell because he told everyone that Sandy Hook was just an inside job, that it didn't actually happen.
Right.
And because that's the thing, is like, if you're talking about like the waters turning the frogs gay, to me, that's so fucking silly. I don't think anyone should be deplatformed for saying that. But when the words and your rhetoric is actually causing negative things to happen to people in real life, like, maybe that person should be silenced. But yeah, it's a tough one, because and I said this like probably 4 times since our conversation started. It depends on it's a case by case basis.
Yeah,
like, yeah, that the comedian Chris D'Elia, like, that shit was kind of creepy, dude. Like, should he have like that? Because I'm a fan of his, dude. And when that shit came out, I'm like, oh, dude, I really like that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck, because it seemed like, granted, he may have not had sex with any underage women, but it seemed like he was doing this fucking kind of game of using his fame to bait fucking like teenagers, and that's problematic. Now, should he have his whole life taken away? I don't know. I'm not the judge, jury, executioner, but it just seems like that's the thing you need to be very mindful of if you're in the public eye. You need to not do creepy shit. You need to not do racist shit. You need to not do misogynistic shit. And regardless of whether or not it's right or wrong, this shit is happening. Like, if you fuck up and you fuck up bad enough, your life will end. Like. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Like, what can I do about it? And I don't know. Like,
not support the person that's being under fire, I guess. I mean, it is easy to not tune in, right? It's not easy to not tune into that.
Well, here's another example. When Kobe Bryant died in that helicopter accident, there was a lot of people that came out and said, "I'm glad he's dead."
Oh God, yeah.
He's a rapist,
right.
And he was acquitted in a court of law of the whole rape thing. But, like, I don't know if he actually did it. it's just everything's real touchy right now. Like I don't even know what to say about that, other than that there were innocent children that died in that helicopter as well. It wasn't just Kobe. So for you to like go on Twitter and be like, I'm glad Kobe's dead. Yeah, but what about those little children that died in the helicopter accident? Like you just have to think about what you say a little bit more these days, and maybe don't put that skit about nutting on a woman's face on your rap album. You know,
Not these days, at least.
I don't know, or maybe just do it anyway. Like Tekashi 6ix9ine, that motherfucker is actually guilty of a sex crime, and he still has a career.
Anthony Kiedis publicly wrote in his book that he was banging 16-year-old models. Still fucking has a career. It's in his fucking book.
I read that book. I don't remember that. It was a long time. I read that book in like 2005.
Yeah, that I had to stop reading it just because of all the. No, that was what's his name's book? The dude from
Motley Crue.
Yes, that was his book. That I had to stop reading. Yeah, I had to stop reading because it was just like too much. Like I have experience with fucking pins and needles and shit, and it's just but
it makes sense.
It does.
When I was reading Scar Tissue, the Anthony Kiedis book, the gist I got from it was just like, and then I got sober, and then I started doing drugs again, and then I had sex, and it just seemed like they just kept repeating over and over again. It's just like sober, fucking doped up, sex, and that was like, it's just like Anthony Kiedis just did a lot of drugs and had a lot of sex, and then he got sober, and then he did a lot of drugs and had a lot of sex, and he got sober. Plus, he made some really amazing music.
Amazing.
I mean, arguably, a lot of dude. What's crazy is how much the Chili Peppers have become this meme to hate on these days.
What? How did the Chili Peppers get memed? I mean, I could see if Anthony Kiedis got Me Too'd, but memed? I mean, they're a fucking national treasure.
I don't know. I'm a Chili Peppers fan, but I'm more of a John Frusciante. I'm a John Frusciante Flea guy, like to the core. Like I love those two as a unit.
I like Red Hot Minute a lot too, though, man. I mean, Dave Navarro brought it in there.
Oh yeah,
I really do. I really like that. I mean, Aeroplane's a beautiful song, man. It's like,
I like that
but yeah, I'm with you. I'm I'm more of a Frusciante Flea guy, but I to give a little love outside of that.
But yeah, I mean, it's not cool to be a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. It's like it's too normie of a these days.
That's so stupid. Well, yeah, I wanted to bring up something that kind of goes with this and censorship and culture telling you what you can and can't do. It was you remember a conversation with homie from Bumpin' Uglies, and you were talking about how they have a song called White Boy Reggae, which I was really deeply a part of the reggae scene in San Diego, which is, I mean, you're probably familiar with. I was touring with bands and stuff up and down San Diego, played Cal Roots, One Love, and all those festivals.
Yeah, that's my backyard is
St. Mary's.
Long Beach.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I fucking love that festival. But there's the cultural appropriation, which is a part of this censorship idea. This idea that because you're white, you're not allowed to play reggae music, and because you're white, you're not allowed to play funk music, even though you guys aren't a funk band per se, but there's elements of funk and ska and rock and heavy and all this stuff kind of in there. So, and you were kind of talking about how someone was sort of criticizing you or something about being he's just a white guy funk boy or some shit. I was just, can you sort of speak on that and sort of how you reacted and how you sort of feel about this whole idea of cultural appropriation? Well, in art especially.
Yeah, well, this is when I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, in a predominantly white suburb. I was always exposed to lots of black music by my mother, like Motown, Michael Jackson, and then like MTV came along, and it never seemed wrong of me to take in everything that was coming my way, which is everything from like Guns N' Roses to Bobby Brown to like fucking listening to the Temptations and like old Michael Jackson on vinyl and Earth, Wind and Fire and all the stuff that my mom used to play. And there was just always all this type of music happening since I was a little kid, and I always loved it, and I always just wanted to do it, and I always just wanted to sing, and I would always walk around beatboxing and stuff. And when you're just a little kid, you're an innocent. You're not really necessarily thinking about where did this come from? Where are the roots of this, as far as culturally speaking? And so I started a rap group when I was in fucking 3rd grade, just because I heard Public Enemy, and I'm like, this is the coolest shit ever. It seemed so counterculture, and it seemed like they were fighting against something, and I didn't understand their defiance, and that it was a racial defiance, and they were fighting against white America and fighting against racism, but I knew they were fighting for the right thing. So ever since I was a little kid, I was enamored by black culture, and until very recently, that wasn't really necessarily frowned upon. Like I signed a management deal with Norwood from the band Fishbone, and they're an all black LA band that plays funk and reggae and ska and soul music, and to me, they were like my favorite band. But I wasn't necessarily like, what my band is doing is just borrowing heavily from black culture, because it never really was a big deal until very recently. And I've like recently had like deep thoughts about all this, whether or not like I should change my band name. I mean, I've had this band name for 20 years, but if you think about it, like Downtown Brown, it sounds dirty and funky, and it's what they call fucking gnarly weed that you get in Detroit, like the band name just kind of just fell out of our drummer at the time in the early 2000s, just out of his mouth. Why don't we call ourselves Downtown Brown? It sounds funky. But even funk is music that was created by black people. Blues, jazz, all popular music in America it comes from black people. So really, no matter which way you cut it, whether you're in a rock band or an indie band or a fucking SoCal reggae band, like you're borrowing from black culture. And if you look like me and you're doing it, then for all intents and purposes, like Downtown Brown, Bumpin' Uglies, like fucking, you name it, any of the SoCal reggae bands that are big, fucking Slightly Stupid, like we're all borrowing from music that was invented by black people. But we wouldn't be making this type of music if we didn't think it was the shit. And if I didn't grow up in a cultural hodgepodge where I was just exposed to so much different stuff, whether it was punk rock or hip hop or funk music or just straight up rock and roll, which is all blues based too. Like to me, it just made sense. I love all this type of music. I'm going to be in a band that does all of it. But now, people like Brandon from Bumpin' Uglies or myself, we're asked these questions, or sometimes given this criticism where it's like, oh, well, you're just a white guy that plays funk. And like when I back HR from Bad Brains, I'm a white guy playing reggae, and I never really thought about any of this until recently. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing to recognize, because if you're going to be stepping into this realm where you're playing music that was originated by people that like it's not your culture, then you better respect the culture, and you better have appreciation for where it came from. You should have a knowledge of where it came from, and you should be doing your best to respect the art form. And I don't know. The way I look at it is, the way I look at it is, it never really was a problem until recently. And some of the people in my band, like I have a drummer out here that plays with me that's a black guy, and my drummer from Detroit's a black guy. So like my band is like, our bass player is a Jewish guy. Like we're a multicultural band. So to just be like, oh, they play white guy funk. No, we also play punk rock and heavy metal and a little bit of jazz, and and then we sing shit that sounds like children's songs. Like Downtown Brown isn't just a funk band. It'd be one thing if we were just playing all funk and the whole band was just a funk band, but it's just a cultural hodgepodge, and it is a product of the way I grew up and my appreciation for all types of different music that comes from all types of different culture, but heavily a lot of what I do comes from my appreciation of Black culture. You know? Yeah. Like when I was in high school, I started listening to Parliament Funkadelic and Prince and Curtis Mayfield and Isaac Hayes. And, you know, then in my early 20s, I got real into like Mr. Bungle and They Might Be Giants. And then, you know, I just, you know, when I was a little kid, I was obsessed with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm answering any questions by saying what I'm saying, but I feel like it would be pretty boring if everyone was only allowed to make music or art based on their cultural lineage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we live in America where everything. I mean, that would be like telling all of Japan who like worships American culture that they're not allowed to listen to rap anymore.
You know? Sorry, Snooze Mew, you can't listen to hip hop anymore, bro. Snooze Mew was saying like the whole Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder thing. The joke is that he was playing a white actor that is unaware of how racist what he was doing. Yeah, that's great
satire. It's great satire, and they tried to cancel him, and that movie came out what fucking 12 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, the idea that well, like you were saying, and I think you were getting on this, is that, you know, American culture, especially with music, and especially as you get the blues starts to emerge, music starts to become this huge transcending part of the ending racism. It sort of transcended race. I mean, you'd have, you know, these, like you look back in the big band days, like Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller and all of them, they would have black musicians touring with them. And so like America historically, music has been this bridge to acceptance and to, you know, tolerance and loving and appreciating other cultures and sharing in that. And so I think that to just tell people that they can't do that, I was like, I think that's just like historically wrong. Like, no, like music has always been one of those things that brought people together in this country, especially. So fuck you. It's like my music. I was in the white boy reggae and trust me, as soon as I got to Southern California, coming from the Midwest, and you know what it's like out here, you know how fucking we get rowdy, we come out in new places, we want to just start breaking shit. It's like, I fucking was like, fuck this, fuck white boy reggae bullshit, and I was the biggest shit talker. And then I got asked on a tour, and I was like, oh, I can do that. And then all of a sudden, I was in the scene. It was over, and I still get shit. I still get shit from all the homies. They're all still like, oh, all this shit talk you're saying. But what I learned from that is when you see people at these huge festivals like Cal Roots or One Love or whatever, you see black, white, fucking Asian, Mexican, everyone is so happy just to be together and to be in this moment sharing it with each other. And you're telling me that what you're doing is perpetuating hate? Go fuck yourself. You can suck a dick with that.
I think, like, as long as the people who are creating the music are aware of where it came from and what its roots are, like, it's called Cali roots. Like, yeah. As long as they possess the knowledge that the music, where it came from and its lineage, and you respect that culture, and you know, and as long as you're doing it from the heart and you're writing music from your soul, like it might have upstrokes or whatever, but like what Brandon brought up in that podcast, I think was really valid is the fake Jamaican accent. Yes. Like that's crossing a line to me of actual appropriation, because if you're from San Diego, you don't sound like a Jamaican dude. Don't do that. You know, and
that was my big problem too. But please.
That'd be like me getting on stage and being like, you know, speaking with an accent that isn't
a Jamaican accent.
Yeah, like, or because I play funk, like I start, you know, whatever a fucking funk accent would be, you know, like if it were a person of color.
Start yelling like Jane Brown.
But the thing is, what I gotta say is, like, I call everyone motherfuckers, and I talk how I talk right here, except I just scream a lot. There's nothing. It's me. It's me. And what I'm doing is I'm taking all the things that I love, which some of it's black music, some of it's like weird heavy metal shit, some of it's children's music, you know, and I'm just plopping it all together. And to me, the way I look at it, that's just an appreciation of where I came from, you know, and what I truly enjoy. So there are parts of my music that are heavily bluesy, fucking kind of metal type shit. There's parts where it goes into ska, but I'm aware, like, I know where all that shit came from. Right. Like, I'm not going to claim that I'm reinventing the wheel or doing anything. It's just, I'm just a dude that likes a whole bunch of different shit, and I'm in the band that I would like to hear. I would like to hear a band that's silly and ridiculous and like plays all types of different music and is high energy. So I'm in my favorite band, because if, you know, like, the way I do things is the way I would want to see things done. Mm-hmm. And I think that is an amazing gift as a human being, to be able to like create something out of nothing, take everything you like about music and art in general and just plop it all together. I mean, that's what ICP did. They took their love of hip hop and they mixed it with a little bit of Alice Cooper. They mixed it with a little bit of wrestling, and then they mixed it with their own Southwest Detroit street culture, which is like drinking shitty soda. And then they mix it with some horror movie shit, and you have ICP. Like, are they appropriating culture? They're deriving from all types of different cultures. Some of it black, some of it like just weird Alice Cooper horror movie type shit. You know, is wrestling black culture? Because ICP is heavily influenced by wrestling. So if you look at like Bumpin' Uglies, they're heavily influenced by, you know, bands like Sublime. Now Sublime is they were a product of Long Beach in the late 80s, early 90s, which you want to talk about a fucking melting pot. Sure, Sublime was all white guys, but they fucking kicked it with a lot of Mexican dudes, a lot of black dudes. Like their original drummer, Marshall Goodman's a black guy. And Bradley grew up loving hip hop music, loving reggae music. But when, you know, no one was like, hey, Sublime, you're not allowed to do that. Like they were revered, and they were friends with the guys that managed my band in Fishbone. Like they're comrades. And Fishbone was friends with the Chili Peppers too. They weren't like, you're not allowed to play funk, because George Clinton produced the Chili Peppers.
And there wasn't this
there wasn't this conversation like, oh, these white boys can't play funk, they're not allowed to, because George Clinton said, they're like, I'm with these guys. Like he put them on. Yeah. Like he produced fucking Freaky Styley. Yeah. So I feel like in the 90s, this conversation didn't even exist, because everything, like, look at the Beastie Boys, like 3 Jewish guys from Brooklyn and just doing rap music. They were on Def Jam. Was Russell Simmons like, oh, we can't do this because these Jewish guys didn't invent hip hop?
Right.
We did. No, he dude, they were huge. LL Cool J opened up for Beastie Boys.
Yeah,
you know,
and I can see the other side of the argument, where you have, like, you know, the people who kind of originated this sort of sound is sort of being pushed out because to make room for someone who kind of came and just copied what they were doing and did it, like Elvis. You know, like Elvis is the classic example, and so I see where they're coming from with all that, but I also see that I'm going to stick with the argument that historically music has brought people together, and to say that it doesn't is just disingenuous. All you have to do is go to a concert, you know, like a Cal Roots concert or something like that. You're going to see all kinds of people just having a fucking good time. And it's just that I just can't get behind that argument unless you're right, unless it's somebody who's seriously just mocking it and just being as disrespectful to it as possible. The other thing with the accent, I there's this guy who I love to death. His name is Josh Heinrichs. He's a reggae player. He plays in the SoCal scene, but he's a Midwest guy. He has this guy who he brings with him called Skillinja, and he gets criticized a lot, and they sort of addressed it. And his argument is that we've been to Jamaica, we've recorded albums with Jamaicans. We've recorded albums with the Marley family in Jamaica, and they were approving us, and we play side by side with Jamaicans. We play side by side with fucking black people. We don't, and not one person from the opposite race or Jamaican, not one black person has ever come up to them and given them any shit about it. And it's only been white people who care. Personally, I think it's a little over the top, right? The Jamaican accent. You're from Missouri, bro. You're from the Midwest. you never, So, but I thought what he said made a pretty valid point. It's like, these guys have, they've gotten the seal of approval from the top. So, I mean, what do you think about that in that situation?
I mean, it's similar to the situation with the Chili Peppers, or the situation. Like when Fishbone really put us on in 2013, when Norwood was he produced our album. There's a lot of white Fishbone fans that kind of fetishize that they're an all black band that plays this, this crazy music, and it's strange because, like, when they put us on, like, we were too white and too corny to be associated with Fishbone, according to Fishbone's audience. So it's funny because even though like we kind of got the cosign from the homies from Fishbone, like their fans were very critical of us because we were a bunch of goofy dudes, a bunch of goofy white boys playing funky music. So, but also that album went a lot of different places. There's like fucking space rock, stoner rock. There's, heavy metal influences. It's all over the place. I don't know. It's a really tough one because the landscape is changing as far as the way society and culture sees things.
Yeah.
And it like it's getting to a point where there's a part of me, because that band Andrew Jackson Jihad, like, have you heard of that band? AJJ?
No.
Okay, well, they're like a folk punk band, but their name is kind of offensive if you think about the cultural figures and the fact that they throw jihad on it. Right. Andrew Jackson Jihad. They actually just straight up changed their name to AJJ.
Oh wow.
And there's a part of me that I'm like, is Downtown Brown offensive to the point where we should just change our name to DTB?
Right.
And like, I've actually had this legitimate conversation with myself in my brain, like wondering, like, should we just like go full DTB and just not be called Downtown Brown anymore because it borrows too much? It doesn't sound like. But then again, I don't know. It's our brand, and I've for the last 20 years I've sold hundreds and hundreds of T-shirts with that name on it,
bro.
I don't know.
Don't fucking change your name, bro. Don't fucking change your name.
It's weird time.
It's fucking change it, David.
This is the thing. Is like whether or not I'm actually gonna pull the trigger on changing shit. You just have to consider things differently now, because the culture has changed and people are changing and we're evolving. So it's.
No, I get what you're saying, but like, was your name born out of hate?
No, it's born out of appreciation.
Yeah. Okay. So no, then you know that there's not hate behind that, and your fans who they fucking know that you guys aren't hateful, and if somebody wants to bring up some shit, I mean, all you can do is defend yourself. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like, that's a heavy thing to have to weigh out, because on one part is like, you don't want to deal with anything. You don't want to be this out of touch old dude who fucking, like, who's just touring around pissing people off. But on the other hand, this is your fucking life, man. This is like over half of your life is this, right? This name, and it's like, this is what you've been building your entire fucking life, or for a good portion of your life. So for some people, a small group of people, this imaginary people, or you might have heard blowback, but
we haven't really caught any
yeah,
real.
I couldn't imagine seeing somebody who poured their whole life into, or half their life into this thing, and then just be like, fuck it, I don't want to make people mad, you know. And I get it, man. I get what you're coming from, but I support the no changing of the name.
Yeah,
the white guy in Ohio supports your name. So.
Thanks, Ohio white guy. But I don't know, man. But I think what it comes down to is you should question all these things. Like,
yes. There's nothing wrong with questioning. I think that's perfect thing to say, actually, because there's nothing wrong with people taking a second before the first fucking stupid ass thing comes spewing out of their gullet to take a breath and be like, should I say that? Is that appropriate? Is that what I should be doing right now? To have a little self-examination and to self-awareness, there's nothing wrong with that. And so
yeah, just be aware enough of the landscape to not just sound ignorant when you speak, or you know what I'm saying?
I do that a lot.
It's just a different time, and you have to. My girlfriend tells me all the time. She's like, "Well, like, because I'll have conversations with myself, like to her, like kind of." I'll be like, and maybe I could do this, and maybe like, but people are saying that, and this person online is saying this, and but what do you think about this? And like, but it's weird because she's just telling me I should ignore it all. But I think so much of what paying attention to the bigger conversation does is it causes a person like myself to just kind of analyze things differently and be like, you know, like where do I fall in all of this? Like, am I the fucking ignorant white guy that doesn't get anything, or am I the white person that is willing to learn, accept, and change certain things about myself in order to, you know, be a little bit more sensitive to the world at large? Or is that all just like people are too sensitive and I should just be who the fuck I am and fuck everyone? Like I haven't really necessarily like globbed onto any of these, but I am in the process of looking at myself and constantly analyzing, like, I don't know, like, who am I? What do I stand for? Like, where do I want to go from here? How do I want to express myself? And how do I want to do so in a way that won't alienate or make me seem stupid? You know, like, and the question is, like, should this much thought go into being a human being? Shouldn't you just like do whatever the fuck you do and just be you, and that should be it? Maybe, you know, maybe I shouldn't be this analytical, but I got a lot of time on my hands, so I don't know what to say.
All right, so I'm gonna.
We've been talking for 3 hours.
I know. I was gonna ask you, do you have time for a quick song and a quick game?
Sure.
Okay, you could totally say no if you have to go, because I know that we didn't really talk about duration here, and I like hearing you talk, man. So I'm gonna play.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, I do talk a lot, and I apologize if I fucking go off on tangents and talk too much, but my brain's a little melted right now.
This is the perfect kind of this is like Twitch and podcasts are like perfect for people who are just long-winded, because it's not like what you're saying is boring. It's like, but it's definitely. I hate talking
to. Subjective, who knows?
Right, but have you ever had a guest who is just sitting there and answering with yes or no answers?
Yes.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's like it's not fun. You want somebody who's long-winded, who's gonna do all the heavy lifting. So all you gotta do is sit there and go. Not that okay. Anyway, but yes, this is.
Yeah, you get it. I get it.
You do get it. You get it completely because you talk to people a lot.
We talk.
Okay, I'm gonna sing "It's Raining Tacos" for Saucy Chicken Nugget because he's cashed in his 5,000 fucking things.
Oh wow!
I think I call them melodicas. 5,000 melodicas. And then we're going to play a game, and then we'll be done.
5,000 sounds like a big number.
Well, it's 5,000 channel points, and it's because I really don't want to do this. But I did it because I need to get better at things. Go ahead.
I support you.
Oh, well, you're a singer and a guitar player, so this is
do you, baby? You got this.
Yeah. I'm a bit player, sir. I'm in the background. I just I play keys or whatever you need, I guess. But I am not a front guy at all. Okay, so we're gonna play It's Raining Tacos, and we're gonna do it in front of our guest. Okay, we're getting some reverb too, because that's nice. All right, it's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos. Out in the streets, tacos. All you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, yum, yummity, yum. It's like a dream. God damn it. Yum, yum, yummity, yum. It's more sour cream. It's raining tacos. Ooh, tacos. Ooh, tacos. Ooh, ooh, tacos. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos. No need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. Yeah. Okay. There you go. There you go, Saucy.
Yeah, woo!
Thank you. Okay, let's play a game, guys. We'll play. How many of you guys want? We're just gonna do one today, guys, because I'm hungry and I have to pee. So let me see here. Okay. Let me get rid of you, kind of. Okay. All right. I'm gonna do a screen share so you can participate. And my entire screen. Yes, do that. And now we're sharing. And where's my slides? Wow. Here we go. So we're not going to be able to see. Oh, shit. Hold on. Let me readjust this real quick. We're not going to be able to see Neil because, well, he's behind all this stuff. So, sorry, Neil, you're off screen right now, but you'll be able to see what we're doing and have fun. All right. Come on, bitch. All right. That's we're just doing this. All right. Cool. So it's called How Much Does It Cost on Craigslist? I put together a PowerPoint, everybody. This is the first time. Hey. So it's How Much Does It Cost on Craigslist? You can go over. It's similar to The Price is Right, but you can go over in price. It's whoever is closest to the actual price on Craigslist of the item. And we have, what do we have today? Oh, we got LA native, since we have a, Detroit, LA, Long Beach guy. We'll give that up. Oh, how about Skid Row? Since we're talking to, a rocker, Skid Row. And this is from our sponsor, modedstudios.com. Fully embroidered patches and apparel. They got them there. Go check them out. And then we have this Herpes, which is a Thrasher knockoff, but it says Herpes, wrap it up. So we'll go Herpes, Skid Row, and LA native. And just for fun, maybe Ace Ventura. So that will be our choices for the day, those patches, and that's what we're playing for. So let's fucking rock it, guys. All right, so our first item up for bid is a vintage Wurlitzer jukebox from Latin Club in Detroit. I got a Detroit.
Oh, wow.
God damn it. Can you see that well, Neil? Jesus, Paul. What the?
I can see it.
Okay, can you read it, or is it? Okay. Anyways, it says vintage jukebox from Latin Club in Detroit. Beautiful Wurlitzer jukebox from the Latin Club in Detroit. All original, including 78s. So, has all the original music in it. And it's vintage. And it's from Detroit. So, Reina already started in the fun. So, drop your guesses in the chat, guys. And I'll get Neil's. Neil, go ahead, man. What do you bid on this?
$3,000.
$3,000. Neil says $3,000. Wallace says $2,100. Reina says $1,985. Anybody else want to play? Go ahead and drop. You guys just really good. Mighty Mighty's $2,100. Anyone else? Oh, spicy chicken nugget. Oh, how dare you do the $1? That doesn't work in this game. Well, sometimes it does, but not very often.
It might.
Well, because you can't go over. You can go over, so it doesn't really, like, you can go over. So putting $1 doesn't really help because I think. Never mind. Let's move on. Okay, actual retail price on Craigslist. $98,000. You guys are all wrong except for Neil. Neil, you have won yourself a patch, sir.
Dude, $98,000 for that thing?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like out of Detroit, like what the fuck? You're gonna
crazy. That's much. No one's gonna pay that.
No, nobody. Maybe in LA, maybe in New York or something, but nobody in Detroit is fucking paying $98,000 for a vintage fucking jukebox. Put that shit on eBay, son. So. Neil, I'm gonna bring Neil back. Actually, hold on. Where is Neil? Where are you, Neil? Come back. Neil,
I'm right here.
Which patch would you like? We have our. Oh God, what happened here? How dare you?
Getting a little laggy.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that sucks. That looks terrible. Okay, which one would you like? Herpes, Skid Row.
Oh, herpes for sure. Herpes
Thrasher. Okay, cool. You can, if you want, you can text me or email me your address. I'll send that out. Neil, I appreciate you coming on the show, my man. I really fucking being open and just doing you. I really do appreciate it. I enjoyed our conversation today, and I look forward to catching your streams. When do you stream?
I do Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, but it sometimes it changes.
I feel that. Yeah. I've been trying to do this Monday, Friday thing, but whew.
Yeah, the Monday, I have a buddy that started streaming Mondays, and we kind of shared like similar people. So I'm just like, I'll just start doing Sundays. I actually got better traffic on my last Sunday stream. It's hard though, man.
It is.
Streaming's tough, dude. Even people are busy, They have their own lives, and so essentially, I have to find new people that like the dumb shit I do somehow.
It's funny. It's like my podcast can get several thousand downloads, but not one of them cocksuckers are coming over to the stream. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like how are so? It's just it doesn't apply. That's what I love about Twitch too, is that the rules don't necessarily apply. If you have a little bit of clout, you might be able to pull some. But I see people who tour with huge bands online who have like 20 people up in their chat, and fucking. And not that I'm judging, because I would love for 20 people just to hang out in my chat all the time. So, but it's just interesting. It's a whole new world. It is. You see T-Pain having tech issues, like pulling out his hair, like what the fuck, like.
And that's T-Pain.
He has access to people who can actually just do this shit for him, and he's just like, why?
Yeah. He's like, my fucking OBS is fucking up.
It's like I love that it's a great equalizer for most. For most, it's a great equalizer. There are some people who just walk in with a fucking with a huge crowd, but it's still it's such a cool platform, and I'm fucking having a blast with it. But Neil, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate. What's your website, and how can people get in touch?
dtbmusic.com. That's the Downtown Brown website. Everything else is at Neil P. No underscore, just at Neil P. My Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all of it. So find Neil P. If and I'm always doing shit, making dumb videos, and
we watched several of your videos on Monday. We were going through, because what I do is, like, on the days that I don't have guests, I do like live looping and just sort of, improvise live looping. But like at the beginning, we go through and we talk about our upcoming guests.
Oh, cool!
And we had fun watching your videos.
It's some silly shit. So
the Brown Christmas was one of my favorite. Are you talking about heroin, by the way? Is that drug? Like, is that what you're referencing? Because you're just all nodded out and shit.
No, it's just shit Christmas. You might as well call it a shit.
Okay. I guess I didn't catch it. I was like, because chat thought it was drugs. This is like, I think he's on drugs. Okay, man. That
video, it was just me being depressed. It's not me nodding out. That was just me being fucking super sad about life. Yeah, Brown Christmas. Everything is brown and down and shitty.
I totally took it as like everything is brown, like heroin.
Yeah. Well, I guess like brown is a heroin term. I didn't know that
in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, people have told me that over the years. They're like, Downtown Brown, is that a heroin thing? I'm like, no.
Yeah. That's what I thought, honestly. Because not that we referenced it as Downtown Brown, but there was definitely reference. You got that brown. What's up with that brown? Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's wild. So Downtown Brown could mean so much. It could mean appropriating funk, or it could just mean straight up heroin. So.
With that, Neil P. Everybody.
Which one is it?
Deal. I again, man. Thanks a lot, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. You have a whole afternoon, rest of your afternoon ahead of you. So enjoy that.
Yeah, I might take a nap.
That sounds lovely. All right, man. Yep. I'll talk to you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike, and thanks to the chat for tuning in. And I hope everyone is, staying as sane as y'all can.
For sure. All right, man. Peace out.
All right, later on.
Oh, sorry, Neil. All right, Neil. All right, let's switch back to. Okay, guys. Well, thanks so much for everyone hanging out. Thank you. Game or music? What does game or music mean? Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, you were saying that a long time ago. Is Crispy fucking still on? Is that dude still on? Man, he's been going. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this off. Okay, so that was the show. I'm glad you guys hung out.